Blackman versus Miller Vaughn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who is Mr. Miller?
I am.
Would you sit down, Mr. Vaughn, please? And is this your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Mr. Blackman, this is an interesting case. I don't think I've ever tried one like this before. You knew the defendant.
I met him first time at our wedding, actually. He was a friend of a guest.
And according to your complaint, there came a time when you and the defendant arranged to have a young woman from the Philippines, who was, I believe, a cousin of your wife's,
Distant cousin, yes.
come to New York for the purposes of marrying him.
Yes, ma'am.
She came to the United States.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't marry her.
No, ma'am, he did not.
And you want him to pay for all of the expenses that you incurred, which you say that he had agreed to pay. In addition, at some point, a check was given to you for $1,500, and then payment was stopped on that check, but that check was written by Mr. Vaughn at the defendant's request. So that's why he is a co-defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
But he's really a nominal co-defendant. Okay, so when was your wedding and when did you meet the defendant?
In February of '99, the defendant was at our wedding. A few days later, he came to a Valentine's dance party, and that's where I spoke to him about our site, FilipinoGirlsTours.com. I said,
No. Speak slowly,
Okay.
because we're missing. You had a website?
Yes, ma'am, a small business. I met my wife through Pen Pal Club, and when she came over, she goes, I have many friends that would like to come too, so we put up a free Pen Pal site where people could get free addresses and phone numbers, stuff like that, and correspond. I don't know if he first saw that site, or I really don't know, but he came to our wedding, and then at the party he was there. And I said, well, you know, we do have a cousin of hers that's real cute on our site. Would you like to meet her? And he says, well, I'd be interested. So I gave him the contact information, the address, the phone number. She did not have email at the time. And from there, it progressed. They got to know each other well.
They got to know each other via mail.
Mail and phone, yes.
And
many,
phone.
Many phone calls.
Okay.
And he went over there on his own.
He went to the Philippines?
Yes.
And visited, that is correct. When did you go to the Philippines, sir?
It was April or May. I don't remember exactly what the date was.
Of 1999?
Yes.
Okay. And you went and you met this young lady? Go ahead.
Yes, when he returned, he relayed to me how happy he was, how he would treat her so nicely, that he really loved her. And he was very frustrated that they were never left alone this whole time. And in the Philippines, most girls are very chaperoned. This particular woman had never dated really in her life. Very, very sheltered. And I helped him with his paperwork to bring her over because we had just started our site and I wanted to get more experience in the fiancé visa part and what have you, so I did all his paperwork for him.
What's a fiancé visa?
In order to bring a girlfriend, fiancé to the United States from another country, you must file paperwork with our government saying that you met her, prove that you met her, and that it's a legitimate relationship and you want to marry her. And you bring her over, you do all this
Do you
paperwork.
have a copy of that application?
I do not have a copy of his, per se.
I need a copy of his.
I do not. I have the form, but I have all the financial responsibility forms that he signed.
Can I see that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Saying that he would be responsible for her as long as she was here. Okay. I've highlighted the...
Okay, and you signed this financial affidavit, sir, on the 31st of August, 1999. Is that right?
I'd have to see it.
Sure.
Yes.
Good. So you signed the financial affidavit in August of 1999, agreeing to be financially responsible for this young lady when she came to this country.
Right. It said that I would be responsible so that she wouldn't be a burden upon our state.
That's correct, but that's only one of the affidavits that you signed. That's why I read the second one very carefully, which is, the first one says that you agree that she will never become a public charge while she's here. But the second affidavit that you signed, sir, says that a plaintiff may seek specific performance of my support obligation, and you acknowledge that any federal, state, local, or private agency that pays any means-tested public benefit or benefit on behalf of the sponsored immigrants has standing to sue you to meet my financial obligations. Okay, I got it. Now, when did the young lady come here?
She arrived on Friday, the 28th or 29th of January, I believe. The wife and I actually picked her up at the airport because the defendant said he could not get off work to pick her up. So we drove to Atlanta from Asheville, a considerable distance, picked her up, brought her that evening, left him at his apartment, where I even helped him move to. That night, they were alone. It was Super Bowl weekend. That Sunday, they came over. The girl was very, very upset with herself, what have you. Mr. Miller had talked her into giving up something very precious to her, which was her virginity, which is something these girls really hold proper to them. Because he had spent so much money to bring her here and so much effort, she figured, well, he's going to marry me, it's okay. The way things worked out, she found out she did not know we had loaned him the money to bring her here because that wasn't...
Now tell me about that loan.
Mr. Miller was in the process of moving, and I had gotten to know him a little bit, doing his paperwork for him and what have you, and he seemed to be a very nice fellow. So I helped him move, brought his washing machines over to my house to store because he didn't have a place to put them, things like that. After he moved, we picked up the girl, brought her to his house and what have you.
Tell me about the money.
Oh, the money. During this move, he's saying he had put deposits down for this, for the phone, for the apartment and everything, and he was very low on money. And I figured the girl's a cousin of my wife, so I said, would you like to have a loan to bring her here? I could loan you the money for the plane ticket as long as it did not take too long to pay me back. And he said, oh, I could pay you back in 90 days, no problem. I just started a new job.
How much was the ticket?
The ticket itself was, I don't know, he sent the money to her. I gave him $675 cash.
Is that correct? That he gave you $675 in cash?
No.
He never gave you any money?
No.
He's lying, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's in dispute. $675 in cash you gave him.
Yes, ma'am, and I even asked my wife if I could take it out of our savings account. She's a joint member of that account, and she said yes, because it was for her cousin. That'd be fine.
Okay. Go ahead.
I had loaned him the money. I picked him up the day before she was to arrive. He called me and said, I can't get off work. Could you please pick her up? I said, sure, I'd be glad to. We went down, picked her up, brought her to the apartment. That weekend followed.
Okay, then you told me about the problem.
Right.
When she came to your house. All right.
Right.
Did he ever tell you that this wasn't going to work out?
The first indication I had of any problem was that Thursday, he did not show up one night. He kept on showing up later each night, coming home, and Wednesday night he didn't show up at all. Thursday morning, the girl called me. I picked her up, brought her home. That Thursday evening, he called me. He didn't have keys to get into the apartment. He said, oh, I had to spend all night in the hospital with my son last night, and he gave me this story. His son was real sick, and he stayed there, and so I met him at the apartment and told him how badly she was hurt. And he says, well, I love her. This is not going to happen. You know, let me get cleaned up, I'll come over. That was the last I saw him in person until our criminal court trial came up. He called me the next day and said...
What criminal court trial?
For the $1,500 check.
Oh, okay.
It was dismissed due to, it was a post-dated check.
Okay.
North Carolina laws.
When for the first time, I asked you, did he tell you that this was not going to work out?
He called me on the phone that week, I believe it was that Thursday evening, and said, I'm not going to marry her. And I said, well, why? And he says, well, that's personal, I'm not going to tell you. I've got to go out of town this following weekend. When I get back, I'll get with you. And he never did call back. Mr. Vaughn called me and said that he had a check that he had written to cover her expenses for her plane ticket, my loan, a small amount of living expenses until she went home. And I was to pick the check up at the apartment. Well, we didn't have a key. We couldn't get in.
Well, you must have said something to him about money. You owe me some money. You owe me the money that I gave you, $675,
actually,
and the return, and the return flight as well.
Right. It was actually him that volunteered the money at first to pay for her plane ticket home, because he knows this is a responsibility that he signed, that he is responsible for this woman, and if they do not get married after 90 days, he has to return her. It's an agreement he's made with the U.S. government.
Okay.
So he was aware of his obligation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carl and Lori Jen Blackman say former friend Chris Miller borrowed money to fly in his girlfriend from the Philippines. Chris says there was no agreement to pay the money back.
When did she go back to the Philippines?
It wasn't until September.
Why not?
Because, well, she was so ashamed of herself, and in the Philippines, and I do have evidence from doctors that treat women in the Philippines.
I'm not interested in that because it's really not germane. She's not here. She was, for emotional reasons, she didn't go back.
Right, and plus the check bounced. We could not get it to cover. 5 times I took it, it would not. Each time I took it to the bank itself, they said, I'm sorry, there's not enough funds, and then I ran it through my bank to have it stamped.
But that was $1,500, and that would have covered her return flight to the Philippines.
And my loan of...
And your loan to him.
Yes, ma'am, and a small amount of living expenses for a week or two.
So the whole thing was $1,500. So how did $1,500 become $5,000 that you're suing him for?
Well, we never could cash the check. It was never any good. So she stayed with us. She was real ashamed and didn't want to return home, and she did not have the money to return home because the check was canceled. And I had told Mr. Vaughn about a week after the check, when I first tried to cash it, I said, well, why isn't there any money there? And he said, well, my wife wrote a check. It'll be good in a couple days. And I said, well, yeah, I think Cheryl may be staying a while anyways because she's very afraid about going home.
Okay. I got it. So the rest of this money, $3,500, is for her living expenses.
Basically, and attorney's fees, and we had to buy her clothes. She had no clothing other than summer clothing, and this was middle of winter, so we had to buy her clothing.
Well, she should have gone home immediately.
With what money?
With the money that you would have lent her and then sued them for the $1,500 and it would have been over
I don't
with.
have thousands of dollars in the bank.
This isn't fair. We're not talking thousands. We're talking about a return airplane ticket.
But
How
it was
much is
Mr.
the one
Miller's
with-
responsibility to return her.
How much was the return air ticket?
When I returned her, it was $640, and it was during the low time of year. In January, it's a high travel time. It could be as much as $1,000 or more.
All right, Mr. Miller, let's hear it.
Well, went over there, met her, did all the paperwork and everything to bring her over here.
Paperwork.
Then in December, when I talked to her, I told her, I said, you know, I don't think it's going to work.
You mean December before she got here?
Right.
Why did you tell her that in December?
Well, I had met my wife. We had dated, I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago. And we had met, and we started seeing each other. And that's when I told her, I told Cheryl, I said, you know, it's just not going to work.
So you told the young lady that you didn't think it was going to work out. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
She came here. Carl picked her up at the airport.
Well, when
brought
you
her.
told her in December that it wasn't going to work out, she hadn't been here yet. Why didn't you cancel these papers?
I didn't know what, she was already in Manila. I didn't know what to do.
You mean she had traveled to Manila in order to come here?
Yeah, you have to go to Manila. You have to go to the embassy in order to come to the United States.
The interview
So
for
she
coming.
had already done the legwork there and was
Yeah.
on her way here,
Yeah.
and they had been using your papers to process her.
Right,
Okay. So you knew she was going to come.
right.
In January.
Well, I told her not to come. She came anyway. Carl brought her to the apartment. I told her, I said, look, you know, it's just not going to work out. I think it was like two or three nights I stayed there, and I think that was it.
Why did you have
When you
sex with her?
Shh, don't speak. Mr. Miller, when she stayed at your apartment for 2 or 3 nights, did you share a room together?
Yes,
Why?
because there's only bed. I didn't have a couch or anything. I just moved.
So you shared a bed together?
Yes.
While he was living with the other girl.
Shh. Mr. Blackman, he
Sorry.
was very quiet. You have to be very quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
What arrangements did you make to get her a return ticket to go home?
When me and her had split up, or she had left, went to Carl's house.
That was just a few days later.
Right. Carl had went around telling everybody that he was going to have me for abandonment, had me put in prison, $12,000 fine.
Prove it.
Don't know.
Mr.
Don't
Blackman,
know if he can
this
or
is
not.
the last time I say that to you, sir. The next time I dismiss your case. Do you understand? I control it here.
Yes, ma'am.
It goes in an order. You, then him. Then if I have any questions. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you used to controlling things?
Not really.
Uh-huh. Does your husband like to control things?
She wears the pants.
What?
She wears the pants.
I somehow doubt that. Go ahead.
So once I heard what he was trying to do, I didn't know what to do, so I called my congressman. They put me in touch with liaisons. I told her what was going on. I said, you know, I need to stop the fiancé visa. She said, okay. Well, I talked to Carl. He said, look, he said, you pay $1,500. It'll all be said and done. It'll be over with. I said, okay, fine. It'll be done. I'd closed out my account, Mark Vaughn. He was a good friend of mine. I said, you mind writing a check? I said, here's the money. He said, no, no problem. Gave him $1,500. Well, Carl Blackman, in the meantime, had called and told her he was going to sue me, that I was going to prison, that on the documentation it says that I am liable for everything. Well, told him no, he's not. He offered to give you the money to send her back. You told him no. You've told me no, that you're not going to send her back, and there's nothing you can do to him. So then that's when he tried to go to court, get us on a criminal offense, and then we're here.
So that you stopped payment on the check that you had given him.
Yes,
That's what happened.
yes.
But you understand that you owe him this money.
No, ma'am.
You do. And for no other reason, Mr. Miller, than because of your actions, this young lady traveled from the Philippines to the United States. Now, you may have told her a week or two before she got on that plane while she had traveled to Manila, according to you, to begin this process, that it wasn't going to work out. And if it wasn't going to work out, then what you do when Mr. Blackman brings her to your home is put her in the car and you say, I'm bringing you back to Mr. Blackman's house. I told you this wasn't going to work out. You don't take her to your bed for a few nights, and then return her. Bad sportsmanship. Not moral conduct. You don't do a test run with somebody that you know is not going to be a permanent part of your life, especially under the circumstances where you met her in the Philippines, which was on her turf. According to what the plaintiff tells me, which I believe, one of the frustrations that you had is that you were not alone very much because of her strict upbringing in her family. So she comes to a strange place, she comes to a strange home, she comes to a person that she's known for, what, a week or two? Is that all you knew her? I mean, other than the mail and the telephone calls.
I was over there about four or 5 days.
So it was less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
And she's vulnerable because she's here. She doesn't know anybody. I don't know how her English is, but she's certainly very vulnerable. And you took advantage of that. Bad show. And I can understand when Mr. Blackman says that there was an embarrassment that she had in going home right away. And she had to emotionally prepare herself to go home because she was going home different from the way she came. How old was she?
25.
And how old are you?
I just turned 35.
And you have a child.
Yes.
I see that from here. Were you married before?
Yes.
Once before?
Twice.
So you've been around the flagpole a couple of times,
I
as
guess you could
opposed
say
to this
that.
young lady.
I don't know if she had or hadn't. I would say not.
The only other expense that I haven't addressed is your attorney's fees. Now, you said you had attorney's fees.
Yes, we tried to change her visa so she could stay here without going
That's
home.
not his problem.
Yes.
That's your problem. That's her cousin. If you tried to change her visa,
Yes, ma'am.
then you're doing that out of the goodness of your heart. That has nothing to do with his relationship with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly believe that you are entitled to be reimbursed for certain of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
And certainly for the $1,500 plus your airfare. I believe that you did provide airfare both ways for this young lady. And I believe that she probably needed a period of adjustment before she went back.
Yes, ma'am.
Not she came 1 week, she goes back the next. Kind of embarrassing. But I would say, Mr. Blackman, that she's not here. I cannot inquire of her. But I would say a month or so should have been sufficient time for her to get over this and to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Did she stay with you the entire time?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. So on your claim, Mr. Blackman, I'm awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
The $1,500 that he was supposed to have given you, plus $1,000 a month for the month that I believe would have been sufficient time for her to prepare herself to go home. So on your claim, sir, I am awarding you $2,500.
Thank you.
Didn't do the right thing, sir. That's all.
Parties are extended in the matter of Ronstadt versus Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Ronstadt, when did you and the defendant start to live together?
Approximately May 1st, 2000.
And when did you separate?
He left on the 19th of July, 2001.
Were you both working at the time?
I was not working. He had lost his job the day prior.
So how did you support the household?
I have a nervous system disease, and I was receiving disability payments,
You were receiving disability.
which exceeded his income.
No, that's a false statement, Your Honor.
Oh.
Yes, it is.
What kind of work were you doing, sir?
I'm a computer technician.
And how much did you earn last year?
$63,000.
Okay. Now, did you move into a new apartment together, or did you move in with him, or did he move in with you?
We moved into a new apartment together. I was making $110,000 at the time I lost my job, and I was receiving disability payments in excess of $2,600 a month.
Your Honor, she was borrowing money from her mother to support this.
This lawsuit has to do with the fact that you claim that you purchased for your joint use a motorcycle.
That's correct.
That's a false statement, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, I don't want to hear from you until I look in your direction or ask you a question
Okay.
that he won't return to you.
That's correct.
Mr. Nelson says that you purchased this motorcycle for him as a gift.
Yes,
your
yes, Your
defense.
Honor, that's true.
Okay. Now, I would like you to tell me the circumstances surrounding the purchase of this motorcycle. When was it purchased?
It was purchased on April 20th, the year 2001. I purchased it because when I lost my job, we had a fair amount of money to live on, but by April, it became apparent that it just wasn't going to make it. I talked to Mr. Nelson, took a full 401k distribution. I got approximately $17,000 left. I have all the proof here. The bike cost $9,400. I did so because he was driving a 4Runner. The 4Runner was costing about $500 a month in just gas alone. And we needed to cut down on our daily expenses. We could not fork out that amount of money on a daily basis for gas. Plus, he had to pay a toll fee to go across the bridge to get to work. Using a motorcycle, you avoid the toll fee.
So
We bought the bike.
now I'll hear from you.
Your Honor, on my birthday, 4/10, she told me that for my birthday, as a gift, that she would be buying a motorcycle for me. And it's a wonderful gift. Plus, it will save on the gas and all these other things. This was not for our use. It was for my use, and it was a gift as a birthday present. 4/10, we had discussed going to look at motorcycles on the weekend. We did so on Sunday, April 15th, and put a deposit of $100 on the motorcycle in question. We were waiting on the rest of the 401k loan to come in, and it
You mean
did
not
come
loan?
in. Sorry?
Not a 401k loan, 401k payout. She got cash.
Okay, yeah. Well, she took that money and told me that she was going to pay the debts that were incurred because of her out-of-control spending with eBay and whatnot, the debts that she was creating, as well as buying a motorcycle for me as a gift. We went back on 4/21 and paid the remainder of the balance. She was talking to the salesman, and I have a written statement from the salesman.
Don't tell me what the salesman said.
This is very
And
important
the
because
salesman should have been here.
he couldn't come here because he's a salesman. He couldn't make it. He
Not a
doesn't know me.
reason.
Why would he take the time to come to the
Not a
court?
reason. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Mr.
Well,
Nelson.
she also told Jamie Curley and my mother. We rode the motorcycle to my mother's house, and she boasted of this beautiful gift that this generous gift that she bought for her son, as a birthday gift.
Why did you leave in July?
We were having some difficulties. We were having a lot of difficulties, and she was adding a lot of stress to my life, and plus my children. She was not really caring for my children or very sympathetic towards the situation between my children and I. She didn't want them around. She was trying to control how often I saw my children and
But
whatnot.
that wasn't a recent thing. That probably had been going on for
This
a while.
has been, yes.
Was it going on before April of 2001?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
So what'd you take this very expensive gift for?
Because it was a gift for me.
So
And
why did you accept a very expensive gift if things weren't going well?
They weren't going too well, but I mean, these things were tolerable, and it was getting progressively worse. When she lost her job, things just kept going downhill from there. And, I got to a point where I was just fed up and I was done.
Now, one of the defenses that you have to this action, other than the fact that it was a gift, is that you say that jointly you purchased furniture for this apartment that you moved in together, and the only thing that you left with was the motorcycle.
It wasn't, I wanted to leave clean. I didn't want to have it drag out or anything, and we had discussed, she said I could take, I told her three things that I wanted. I'm going to take, I said I'd like to take the computer desk, the DVD player, and our big screen TV. And that's it, and you can have the rest. And I'm leaving. And I didn't include the motorcycle because that was a gift and that was mine. So I didn't ask her, is it okay if I take my motorcycle? I had a police civil standby because her son got out of control that night and brought two friends over.
Did you, in fact, take this TV?
No, I did not. She wouldn't allow me to take the TV because
So did you take anything from the apartment?
No. Excuse me. I took my clothes, my belongings, and
the motorcycle.
And the motorcycle. And the police wanted me to get my stuff and get out. They were there on a civil standby, and I was standing right next to an officer when I rode off with the motorcycle.
Now, who paid for all the furniture in the apartment?
She paid partially, and we had a joint account and whatnot, so I don't know exactly how much of what we paid for.
How much money did you put into the joint account each week?
Actually, I have it right here. I have statements right here.
I have a statement also, Your Honor.
How much money did he put into the joint account each week?
$1,263 every 2 weeks.
Okay, and what was the rent on the apartment?
$1,800.
$1,850, Your Honor.
Excuse me. This motorcycle was not an issue, if I may. This motorcycle was not an issue until after I'd left and she saw Miss Curley riding on the back of my motorcycle. We left the place, and then Miss Rungstad told me that she said, now, because of this stunt, you're going to lose the motorcycle. And that's when it became the issue.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Rongstad is suing her ex-boyfriend, Eric Nelson, for the cost of a motorcycle. Eric says Lori is jealous of his new fiancée.
Is it accurate that he put in about it would come out to about $2,700 a month?
He put it in, but he also had bills that used up all of that money.
I want to know who paid for furnishing the apartment.
I did. I sold over $80,000 worth of stock options. I bought all of the bedroom furniture prior to us ever moving in and charged it on an American Express card.
Are you telling me that he did not contribute to purchasing anything for the apartment?
No, ma'am, he didn't, because I had the cash. I had over $30,000 when we moved in. The only things that we needed to buy once we moved in were we bought a big screen TV, a DVD player, and a couple of VCRs.
Where
Other
did you
than
pay
that,
for that from?
At that time, we did not have a joint account.
Where did the money come from?
From myself, from my stock option sales.
Your Honor, I also had stock that I had sold as well, and plus I also put extra money in that we bought stock together, and she put it in her son's name, and then sold the stock, and we used that money as well, so it's not going to look like it came from me at all, but that's what happened.
There's never been any stock in my son's name ever, and that can be proved through IRS records if needed.
I'd like to pull
Now,
those
I
in.
have one other question. The car that you had, the truck that you had, was that sold?
No, ma'am.
Did you continue to use it for the months of May and June?
Yes, I did at times, yes.
So you kept that. Do you drive?
I do drive, but I have my own vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
At the time, I had a Chrysler Concorde. However, it was tampered with, and the engine no longer worked, so I had to turn that in and buy a new car.
But
Your
when
Honor,
this motorcycle was purchased, you did not sell the other car that he had.
No.
That car was retained.
That's correct.
Now, do you have both vehicles now, sir, the motorcycle and that other car?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
You have both?
Yes.
Okay, and you had both in the month of May,
Yes, I did.
and you had both in the month of June.
Yes.
It was a gift. It was a gift, Miss Rostat. Now, it may have been a gift that you decided should not be a gift because the romance didn't last more than a couple of months after you gave it to him, but that's really not dispositive.
No, Your
I would
Honor.
accept what you said to me about saving all the money because of saving all the gas money, et cetera, if the agreement was that he was going to sell the car that he had or the truck that he had so that there would be no additional expense, but there is certainly no saving by having two vehicles, two insurance, two repairs, two everything else. I mean,
No, Your
I think
Honor.
that, yes, oh yes.
May I
I
say
think that it
something?
is, no. I think that it's probably not the moral thing to do to accept this very pricey gift, sir, from somebody where the relationship wasn't going right. You know, guys like big toys, so you're going to take it anyway because where else were you going to get a $9,000 present? But I certainly think it was not the moral thing to do. Do we understand each other?
Yes, I do. I left that house, Your Honor, without taking anything, so I
Well, my
understand that.
sense is, from what the plaintiff tells me, that she had far more financial resources to
agree.
spend to furnish that house than you did. I was a little sympathetic when I first read your answer, and you said, I walked out of this relationship with nothing. We had furnished a house for $25,000, and I just left with this gift and my clothes. Until I ascertained, sir, that you have children for whom I'm sure you pay child support, that you did put in certain joint monies into a joint account, but that went to pay off some bills. You had a car, you had insurance, you had gas. That eats up what you put in to the joint account. So I don't see that you had a lot left over to buy furniture, whether it was a big screen TV, because that would have been a single guy's paradise to leave a relationship with a big screen TV and a motorcycle. So I'm sorry I can't help you, madam.
May I please say a couple other items that I was not able to say?
Sure.
Anything that was a gift, I gave him. I bought him Yardrow Eagles. I bought him a number of very expensive items. I gave those to him. Those were pure gifts. I was down to all of the last money I had in my life, my 401k. I would not have used half of that to buy him a gift. Also,
Yes, you did.
No, he also
Yes,
did
you
not.
did.
Ma'am, he also did not use.
You shouldn't have used, if it wasn't a gift, you should not have used half the money that you have in your whole life to buy him a motorcycle.
Your Honor.
That's not smart.
I know
And
it
don't give me
wasn't.
all the baloney about he was going to save money on gas. Common sense suggests to me that if you were going to buy somebody a car to save money.
Why
so
did I
that-
put it in my name?
No. Listen to me carefully. You would buy him a car for $8,000.
It
because
doesn't get
I think
across the
I'm
bridge
s-
fast.
Hey!
He was
Did I
walking
look
to
at you and
leave.
ask you a question? A motorcycle is not something that one buys to save money.
It is.
No.
I
A
also grew up with
four-cylinder
them.
little car just to get you to and from work can save money.
Yes.
right? A motorcycle is a boy toy.
I like motorcycles, and I've always had them.
Good. Buy yourself another one. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's obviously filled the judge's head with lies. I mean, they won when they're purely evil people.
We were next door neighbors, and Lori, Lori won't take any responsibility for their breakup.
I have 20 police reports of all the harassment.
A woman scorned.
After I left her, I got involved with Jamie Curley, and she's off at that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Clark versus Bruni. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Elizabeth Clark is suing 21-year-old student Callie Bruni for the unpaid balance on a trip to Cancun.
I gather that you and a friend decided to take a trip to Mexico, a vacation to Mexico. Is that right?
Yes.
And you prepaid the trip, and shortly before you were supposed to leave, you got sick.
Yes.
Mono?
Yes.
Somehow there was an arrangement made with the defendant to take your place on the trip. You claim she paid you some money for the trip, but still owes you a substantial amount.
That's correct.
So when were you scheduled to leave on the trip?
March 8th,
When did you get sick?
February 14th. I was hospitalized March 1st through the 6th.
And at what point did it become non-refundable?
Not exactly sure.
Well, it becomes non-refundable. Certainly you would agree that by February 14th, when you got sick, it was non-refundable.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
So you stood to lose all of your money, right?
Yes.
Now tell me what the arrangements were with the defendant.
The arrangements were when I was in the hospital between my witness Shannon and Callie that she was going to pay me money before I left.
Just a minute. So you never had a discussion with the defendant?
No, I did not.
Your witness did?
Yes, she did.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Shannon Powers.
You were supposed to go on the trip
With
Miss
Beth.
Clark. So what did you do? You contacted the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Okay. She was a friend of yours?
Yep.
Was she a friend of yours?
No.
Go ahead.
I kind of struggled around to find someone to go because we both stood to lose a lot of money. And the agreement...
Right, because it was non-refundable.
Yep.
Right.
The agreement between Callie and myself was she would give or send Beth a check or money for $400 and then pay her the remainder of the $574 in the summer when she started working.
Was that your agreement?
No.
Let me hear what your agreement was.
The agreement was $700. My parents gave $400, and I thought the agreement was that Shannon's parents gave $100 for me, and then that I was paying Beth $200 in the summer. I would never agree to pay that $978 when she was going to lose all her money.
How much did you receive altogether so far for this trip?
$400.
$400. And where did the other $100 come from?
From my parents, but I guess they never sent it. I was not aware of that.
Why were your parents going to send Miss Clark another $100?
Because Callie agreed to give me $500, and then she didn't have a license, and she had to get back from New York to Connecticut because she didn't have a passport, and she had to spend the money, the $100, to get back to Connecticut to get her IDs and stuff.
Okay, so you were going to give her parents back the $100?
No. My parents would only give me $400, and Beth's mom would not take the $400. She said $500.
Are you telling me that you actually gave her $500 or $400?
$400, but...
All right, so you still owe her $3. Miss Clark, you never had a conversation with nor a contract with the defendant. Is that right?
Before she left, I did not have contact with her.
Right, so you had no contract with her, right?
Right.
You had no agreement with her whatsoever.
It was between them. But I had a friend who was willing to go instead of Callie before she...
I don't know that. Where's your friend who was willing to go?
I have a document.
I don't read documents. I don't read documents. I mean, you're in the hospital. You stand to lose $974. You took out no insurance to prevent you from losing all this money. I mean, I don't see anybody spending the full amount of the trip if she knows you're going to lose all of your money. That's not the way people usually operate. They usually operate, well, I'll go on short notice, but I'm not going to spend $1,000 on a trip. She didn't have $1,000. She only had $400. Aside from the fact you didn't have a contract with her.
But that was the agreement that I understood, that she was to pay me money when she got back from the trip.
Yeah.
She paid me $400, and I expected the rest. I worked 2 jobs over my winter break trying to pay for this trip. And I wouldn't have let somebody go on my trip for $700 that I worked 2 jobs for, and then I paid for in full.
Next time you take a trip, you should have some insurance.
I never thought that I was going to get sick.
Absolutely. That's why people take out insurance. In any event, you had no contract with the defendant. As far as she was concerned, well, she got a little mixed up with the $100. I guess she figured your mother was going to give her $100 so that you wouldn't lose all your money and therefore you wouldn't go away on this trip alone.
Yeah.
You still owe her $300. Why haven't you paid her?
I was going to pay her the $200 because I never knew that
her mother didn't give the $100.
Yes.
All right.
So I was going to pay her the $200, and then I get in the mail that she's trying to get $530 from me.
So you gave her nothing?
Right.
Well, why didn't you give her at least what you thought you owed her?
Because I knew I had to go to court anyways.
Okay. Well, you owe her $300. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
This is Monk. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Nickerson, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that he purposely totaled your car by smashing into it. This was after he had ceased to be your boyfriend.
Right.
Mr. Monk does not deny that he did, in fact, smash into your car, but he has two defenses. One, it was that it was really just an accident, and second, that you should have had more insurance. Right?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I got it right. When did he cease being your boyfriend?
That night.
It was a good answer. When did this happen?
August 7th.
Where were you?
I was at a friend's house.
Male friend?
Yes.
About what time?
About 7, 8-ish.
He came over.
He followed me.
What happened?
He knocked on the door, and my friend said, I think your boyfriend is outside. I said, oh, no, quit playing. And then he got more furious. Aisha, if you don't come out here. And so I finally...
You mean the defendant got more furious?
Yeah. He started yelling my name, and I was paranoid. And then I finally opened the door, and I came out there, and he was ranting and raving.
What was he saying to you?
Oh, it was belligerent.
What was he saying?
Oh, you know, how could you do this to me? Why are you here? Yada, yada.
And what did you say to him?
You know, I just said I was over a friend's house. By this time, I'm mad because he's embarrassing me at my friend's house. So I was getting upset with him, and I told him none of his business. And then he got more upset. Then this is in the back of the house, and then we're walking. He threw someone's garbage can on the ground, and I'm paranoid. Then I got on my cell phone, and I called the police because he was getting violent. He was getting in my face.
He was getting in your face, and he threw somebody's garbage can?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Then we proceeded to the front where my car was parked, and his car was parked on across the street. Okay, and then we were arguing, and then he got in his car. It looks like he was going to take off and leave, but I guess the devil got in him. And so he did a donut, and he sped and totaled my car. 360 turn and totaled my car.
What kind of car did you have?
A 2001 Corolla Toyota, 3 months old. My first new car.
Okay. You have a different version of what happened?
Yes.
I'll hear you.
First of all, we were still together on that day when.
Okay, you were still
when
together.
the thing happened. Yes. And I did not follow her. I was not following her. I was on my way somewhere else, and I just happened to pass by that area, and I seen her car outside the home.
How big an area do you live in?
What do you mean?
You live in a city or?
Yeah, it's a town. It's a town.
How many people live in that town?
I don't know, a couple thousand, about 50,000.
So you're just around 50,000. So you
Yeah,
just happen to
maybe
be
more,
going
maybe
down
more.
that street.
Yeah, I was going down that street.
Okay, go ahead.
Where I was going, I was passing that area.
I got you.
But anyway.
Believe me, I got you. Go ahead.
Anyway, so I see her car there. So I was on my way to do something, so I continued to do what I was doing. I called her cell phone.
When you said you saw her car there, was it parked in the street or in a driveway?
Yeah, it was parked on the street. The street I'm going down, if I look that way, I can see her car parked right there. And I know her car, and I know that she knows people that stay in that house. That's why I knew it was her.
Ah, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, I proceeded to call her on the phone, and she didn't answer her phone, so that made me suspect something even further. So after I finished doing what I was doing, I came back over there, and I knocked on the door. Nobody answered, so that, like she said, that made me more mad, and I was getting restless and upset. So I was calling her name out, and finally she came out. We got in a heated discussion. Things were getting too hot. You know, I was getting too upset, so I jumped in my car and I proceeded to leave. My car was parked opposite of hers on the other side of the street. I went to make a U-turn. By this time, I'm so upset that I'm driving reckless. So I lost control when I was coming back after making a U-turn, and my car went into hers.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about the damage. The car's been totaled?
It's totaled. It was not up.
What kind of insurance did you have on this brand new car?
The worst insurance in the world. Due to my age, I had to go with the cheap insurance. So I went to this place, but it was full coverage because you can't drive it off the lot without full coverage. So they're telling me they can only pay the blue book. So apparently the dealer must have gotten over on me on the overall price of the car, which, regardless of the case, I paid for it. That was my decision.
Let me see the paperwork. How old are you?
24.
So, according to this letter from the insurance company, they're prepared to give you $14,541.
Right.
And did you have a loan on this car?
Yes.
And what was the total loan amount on the car?
19,100 something.
Who went with you to buy this car?
He did.
Did you shop around at all?
Yeah. I was shocked I got approved. I was happy. It had a nice steering wheel.
A nice what?
Steering wheel. Leather.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at customer service.
For whom?
Kaiser.
For how long?
3 years.
How much do you earn?
Not a lot.
How much do you earn?
Yearly, about 30,000.
How many payments did you make on this car?
Like 4 payments.
And how much were your payments?
$365.
A month?
Yes. Plus 120 of that insurance.
120 of the 365 was for insurance?
Mm-hmm, the insurance. That lousy insurance. Can I say their name? The insurance name?
Sure.
I can?
Sure.
They suck.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aisha Nickerson claims ex-boyfriend Carl Monk crashed into her car during a jealous rage. Carl says it was definitely an accident.
What percentage of interest do you have on this loan? Do you know?
10%. 10.9.
You're not a very good shopper.
I was just with her. I wasn't helping her along.
Well, you have to deduct the payments that you've already made to the company because you don't have a payout figure, do you?
No.
Okay. That would leave a balance that you owe the company of about $3,765. Now, Mr. Monk, you hit a car.
Yes.
You gotta
It was an
pay.
accident.
Well, it wasn't her accident. It was your accident.
But it was an accident.
No, it wasn't her accident. It was your accident. She wasn't in her car. Her car was standing. Her car didn't move over to your car. Right?
Right.
You hit her car.
True.
All riled up, angry, whatever else it was. Her car's not responsible for your anger. You are. So you got to pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,765. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't agree with it.
I think justice was served.
Yeah, don't act on emotion.
Stay single.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Staley versus Thompson, step forward, please.
37-year-old trucker John Staley says during a visit with his sister, 38-year-old customer service rep Terry Thompson, she attacked him with a hammer. John says Terry lied to police and had him arrested for domestic violence.
Mr. Staley, the defendant is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, she filed a false police report causing you to be arrested, spending a day in jail. Those charges were subsequently dismissed, but you want her to pay for your lost wages.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? When did this incident occur that caused you to be arrested?
August 9th,
And where did it take place?
at the defendant's home of residence.
What were you doing there?
On August 9th, I came home to my home, and I found my niece, my oldest niece, on the phone.
Your
I asked
oldest
her-
niece is your daughter?
Yes.
Go ahead.
She was calling people on the phone, and she advised me that her car had broken down. She didn't have any money on her, and she needed help getting the car towed to get the car fixed. And she asked for my assistance. At the point, I didn't really have any money, but as we were discussing this, the tow truck showed up at my residence. So I told Lori to go with the tow truck driver to go get the car, have the vehicle towed, and I would go to the bank, withdraw money to pay for the towing. And Lori needed to go back to her mother's house, so I took Lori back to her mother's house, and that's what I was doing there.
And what happened when you got there?
I walked with Lori upstairs to the apartment. I stayed in the hallway.
Your Honor.
Don't put your hand up yet. You'll have an opportunity to tell me your side of the story.
I stayed in the hallway while Lori went in and got her things, and there was a discussion that Terry made about that I owed her an apology over an incident that took place 2 years ago. She made.
Have you spoken to your sister since?
I haven't spoken to my sister since February or March of this year.
But you were outside in the hallway.
I was in the hallway of the apartment.
She came out to the hallway?
Yes, she did.
To tell you
She
that
wanted an apology, and she made some statements, and I told her she needed to get her facts straight on that issue. But I wasn't going to apologize for this incident. It's 2 years old, and there was no need, and I felt I was in the right of that incident.
Okay.
And she told me to leave. And I tried telling her that I needed to take Lori back to get her car. And she said, no, you're not. She demanded that I leave, and if I didn't leave, she was going to go in, get a hammer, and she was going to beat me with the hammer. And I said, fine. So I turned around. I started walking down the steps. I was on the second step when my sister tried shoving me down the stairs. As she was pushing for me from behind, I turned around with my arm. I raised my arm in defense, and at the same time, I tried to maintain my balance on the stairwell.
Had she gotten the hammer?
Not at that point. She got hysterical and everything. She started screaming out loud, and she ran back into her apartment. And I started walking down the stairs, and I was at the first turnaround. There's 3 flights of stairs, and there's a turnaround at one point, and that's when she emerged with the hammer from the apartment.
Did she come down the stairs to
Yes,
where
she
you
did.
were?
I started running down the stairs. I was at the bottom of the stairs when we came together, and she went to swing the hammer, and I put my hands up in a high blocking fashion, and the hammer caught my right forearm, and then I returned a kick to Terry, kicking her away from me, and this bought me a couple seconds to get out the door. Terry then chased me out the door, and I turned and I tossed my keys at Terry. I missed Terry, and my keys went into the bushes on the east side of the doorwell. And then she continued to swing the hammer, and she started yelling to her neighbors, call 911, I'm being assaulted, as she was swinging the hammer.
Did you report this to the police?
Yes, I did.
When?
What happened was Lori came out, and I ended up taking Lori back to her car.
When did you report this to the police?
After I dropped my niece off at her car, I went straight to the sheriff's department.
And what happened when you got there?
They interviewed me, and I told them about the apology and
Told them the story.
Told them the story. They said they had to talk to Terry about the hammer because she didn't originally tell them about the hammer. And they come back and they said she admitted to using the hammer and that I admitted to kicking her. And as far as they were concerned, this was mutual combat. And their policy is to take one of us to jail. They elected me because I was already there.
And subsequently, the charges were dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see your paperwork, please. Now, Ms. Thompson, you tell me your version of these events, please.
He's been told several times, this would meaning the 5th time of this year, that he doesn't need to be over harassing me or coming over to my apartment. There's no reason for him to be over there since we do not get along. There's been a few domestic disputes in the past.
Whatever. Your daughter came home to gather some
Yeah.
stuff. Your brother is standing outside in the hallway of your apartment. What happened from there?
Okay, well, I buzzed my daughter to get in. I only seen my daughter get in.
Fine. Your brother is standing in the landing.
He pushed his way in my
Where was he in the apartment?
He was standing in the living room.
Is the living room as soon as you enter into the door?
Yep.
Fine. Okay, so he's standing in the living room. What happened next?
He was trying to say hi, and he was being very much agitating and aggressive. And I said, why are you here? You know, you don't get along. We don't get along.
What did he tell you?
He was very much trying to say hi,
No,
very
Miss Thompson.
jumping up and down.
Miss Thompson, pay careful attention to me.
Okay.
He was there because he had brought your daughter there, right?
He could have waited in the car.
Just a second. Answer my question.
Yes.
He was there because he brought your daughter there.
Yes.
And he was waiting for her.
No.
He took her back to get her car.
That's correct.
Right. She got her things, and eventually, after this altercation, she left with him. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, I want you to tell me about this hammer that you admit that you hit him with.
First, he punched me first before I got a chance.
Where did that take place?
It happened in the hallway.
What level of the staircase did it happen where he punched you?
On the 2nd level.
Was he in front of you or behind you?
He was in front of me.
What were you doing following him out of the building?
He was still agitating me the whole way.
What were you doing following him as he was leaving the building?
Your Honor, he's constantly over in my apartment. I
don't care about constantly over. I'm asking you, he's leaving. You told him to leave. He's on his way down the stairs.
Right, agitatingly.
Not agitating, leaving the building. Whether he's leaving the building and he's saying words to you or he's not saying words to you, he's leaving. If he was agitating you, you close your door to your apartment, you say, my goodness, I'm glad he's out of here. You close the door, case closed. What were you following him for?
To make sure I didn't want him to come back.
Oh. When did you get the hammer?
I got it out from my closet in my apartment.
What did you call the police for?
I've constantly called the police.
No, I don't care constantly. What did you call the police for today, that day?
Because he was over again at my apartment harassing me.
Miss Thompson, was your daughter moving out of your apartment? Is that why she came over?
No, she just wanted one thing, a paycheck. She was in there for a second and out.
So she just came home to get a paycheck, right?
Right.
When did she tell you that she was just there to get a paycheck?
She didn't even bother telling me.
She walked in the door and you said something. You
He
must have
followed
said,
her up.
When your daughter walked in the house,
Okay.
did she tell you what she was doing there?
No, first she said, John is behind me.
Fine.
And then he pushed his way in. And then she went to get her check to get him out of there.
That's not why she went to get her check. That is not why she went to get her check. She came to the house because she had to get a check. She asked him for a ride. He was not there uninvited by someone who lives in your house. Does your daughter live with you? Does your daughter live with you?
No, she doesn't.
Did she live with you then?
No.
Okay, but a check was in your home?
She came over to visit me, and the check was in her pants pocket, and she came back to pick up her check.
So she leaves clothes in your house?
There's times she visits.
So she leaves clothes in your house?
Yes.
So she invited him to drive her home. She walked in and said to you, John's behind me. Not John's behind me, he's stalking me. He followed me here in order to hurt you.
Yes, he did, Your Honor.
No, he didn't, Miss Thompson. Now, Miss Thompson, you told him to leave, and he was leaving. And your daughter was still upstairs. You're the one who gets agitated. Because you were following him down the stairs, you went upstairs, and you got a hammer.
And he couldn't stay in his car?
He could have stayed in his car.
Mm-hmm.
Sure he could have. That doesn't give you license to go and get a hammer and assault him with a hammer. That doesn't give you license to do that. He's not a stranger. It's not somebody that you don't know. You may not get along with your brother, Miss Thompson, but that doesn't give you license to pick up a deadly weapon and to use it at all. And you're absolutely responsible for his lost day's wages, which in this case, all he's suing for is $134.84. You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may stand on the calendar in the matter of Lee versus Kearney Yawan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Lee, according to your complaint, the defendant was living in your home. You were living there with a friend of yours, and he was the friend's boyfriend. Is that right?
Yes.
And you claim that he started a fire in your home, caused substantial amount of damage. You want him to pay for all of the damage. The defendant's answer indicates that, well, it was an accident. And two, he fixed a lot of the damage, and there should not be anything that requires any professional attention. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
Okay. When did this happen?
Well, it took place around February of 2000. It was close to midnight, where he had apparently started the fire by himself. And somehow he had used kerosene, and it got out of hand. He left a trail of kerosene from the front door to the fireplace. So when he started to light the fire, it trailed back, of course, to the front door on the hardwood floor as well.
You have pictures of the damage?
Yes, I do.
Were you in the house at the time?
Yes, I was.
The fire was extinguished so that nobody was hurt?
Correct.
Fortunately.
Fortunately,
Okay.
yes.
What's this dollar bill doing on your floor?
Oh, I had a friend took that, and he just put the dollar bill there just to focus in on the area.
I see. I assume that's the ceiling, smoke on the ceiling?
Correct.
Okay. Why did you light a fire with kerosene?
Well,
Oh,
that's,
no, well over here.
Okay.
Well is not an answer.
that's actually the part that is not true. I didn't try to light up the fireplace with the kerosene.
How did you light the fire?
Well, okay, the truth is that I think it's about on June last year, and it's not on February.
You needed a fire in June?
Yeah.
Was it very cold?
June 31st, yeah.
It was very cold. Where do you live?
In Seattle.
Even in Seattle, it's cold enough in the summertime that you have to light a fire?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it can get really cold, yeah. And I noticed at that time also it was raining outside.
What time of the day or evening did you light this fire?
Well, that's the thing that I'm not quite sure. Also, I've already totally forgot about this whole incident.
How many fires have you lit in your life that caused damage?
Yeah, that's...
How many is the question?
This is the first time.
Then I would remember it. Do you understand? You almost burned the house down.
Yes.
How did it happen?
Okay, I
Do you
have a
remember
drink.
how it happened?
Yes,
Sir?
I remember.
You remember clearly how it happened?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So at that time that it was late at night, and then I was setting up the fireplace, and then after that I go make myself a drink.
What time were you setting up the fireplace?
It's probably around 10 o'clock.
Didn't you have to get up early in the morning?
Yes, I do. Because that I thinking that I was just going to set up the fireplace for about an hour, and then after that I will
No, slowly, sir.
extinguish it.
You thought you were setting up the fireplace and what?
For about only an hour.
Fires don't last for only an hour.
Yeah, but I decided that later on I will just extinguish it myself and then go to bed because I have to work in the morning.
How'd the fire start?
Okay, like I said, that when I get up and then try to make a drink, I have this vodka on my hand, and then I lit up the fire. I didn't use any kerosene or anything. It was a dry wood, so I just started up the fire right away. And then approximately after about 15 minutes or so, I decided I need to go to the restroom. So I go to the fireplace, then put more wood into the fireplace. And then at that time, I put the glass with the vodka in front of the fireplace. And then I just totally forgot because that it is not is
Had a little
dangerous.
too much vodka.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
Had a little too much vodka.
Yes.
There you go. I knew we were going to find the answer, sir, if we just kept going. So it wasn't an accident. It wasn't on purpose. It was caused by you having a little too much Stoli or whatever you were drinking.
That's right.
Right? So you have to take care of the damage. Now, what did you do to take care of the damage?
Well, the next morning that I told...
Fire department came?
No, it didn't. Even though the fire alarm went off because of that.
No firemen came?
No. Your Honor, my son, the fireplace was about 10 feet away from his front bedroom door. And when he heard the alarm went off, he quickly went out. He went to the front yard, took the hose, and came in and hosed it down and extinguished it.
There was damage. Damage to floors, damage to the door, damage to walls, soot. What did you do to fix all that?
Well, I told my ex-girlfriend that I feel responsible for setting up the fire, causing the fire.
Of course.
Yeah.
You are responsible.
And then I feel bad about it, and then I'm going to fix it. So the next morning, I didn't go to work, and then I start from the painting the front door because it got the smoke stain on that front door. And also after that, I also fixed the hardwood floor just by sanding it, and then.
Did you buy a sander?
No, just like the sandpaper.
That's not the way you fix a floor, sir. You don't take a little piece of sandpaper and just go over areas. You got to do the whole floor.
Yeah. That's the thing is that because I noticed that only like there's like a small black stain on that hardwood floor caused by that fire.
So you just took a little piece of sandpaper and went over it. What else did you do?
And I also paint the ceiling, not the ceiling, but the wallpaper.
You painted over her wallpaper.
Only on the portion that got the smoke.
You're not a decorator, are you, by profession? Huh?
No.
I didn't think so. So that's what you did. You painted over the wallpaper. You took a little piece of sandpaper and you went over the floor in certain spots, right?
Yeah.
And you painted over the front door. Now, before you painted over the front door, what did you do to get off the soot and the smoke and where it had been charred? Did you sand it down? Did you remove all the paint?
No, I didn't.
You just smeared a coat of paint over it.
That's right. I'm not a handyman, so.
When you cause damage to somebody else's property, sir, you may not be a handyman, but if you cause the damage, then you're supposed to get a professional to take care of it. You're not supposed to do it yourself. Let me see estimates of your damage. Do you have homeowners insurance?
Well, Your Honor...
Well is not an answer. My question is, did you have homeowners insurance? Why not?
At the time, I was changing insurance companies, and the 2 weeks had lapsed, and this incident took place during that 2 weeks.
Is this your own home?
Yes.
I want to see proof that you didn't have insurance. I want to see proof of that, because you're not going to collect twice. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
I'm really smart.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Victoria Lee says Her friend's ex-boyfriend, Kiet Kurniawan, damaged her home when he started a fire with kerosene. Kiet says the damage occurred because he left his vodka next to the fireplace.
Now, we're going to bring me something from your insurance company indicating a lapse in coverage at a particular time. Do you have that information?
Yes, Your Honor. I managed to get a letter from the insurance company, as well as a copy of my current insurance, which will show that I started a new insurance as of July 13th, 2000.
And that's in Seattle, Washington?
Yes.
When did you purchase the home?
January of 2000.
How much did you purchase it for?
$240.
You have a mortgage?
Yes, I do.
What's the mortgage?
$189.
If you have a mortgage, you have to have insurance.
Yes.
The lender requires that you have insurance, and if you don't have insurance, they get insurance for you. So if you had to show proof at the closing that you had insurance, everybody knows that. What kind of business are you in?
I'm a mortgage consultant.
You got it. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor. But my home had closed in January, beginning of January, and then I had wanted to switch insurance company after it had closed. And I was hoping that the lender would not find out, which they didn't. So I did go ahead and get insurance with a different company as of July the 13th.
So what you're telling me is you fraudulently misrepresented to your lender that your premises was insured. Is that right?
No, it was insured at the time of the closing, Your Honor.
Well, at the time of the closing in January, if it was insured in January, it would have been insured in February, when you say the fire took place.
I wanted to change insurance company, so I had canceled it.
Well, that's not his problem. He had an accident in your house. If you had insurance, which you should have had, then you would have been totally covered. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I fixed it. And I actually told my ex-girlfriend that I will fix it.
Don't yell at your insurance lapse.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brewer versus Oldham, step forward, please.
38-year-old woodworker Karen Brewer is suing 28-year-old grocery manager Johnny Oldham for reward money that was promised for finding his toy poodle.
Miss Brewer, according to your complaint, you found a dog that turned out to be the defendant's dog. The dog was returned to the defendant, and you believe that there had been a reward for the dog, $500, I believe. You want the reward money.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you find this dog?
My daughter and I was coming back from Little Rock, and we found it on June the 24th. It was dodging cars across the interstate, and we saw it, and we stopped, and we picked it up, and we had called the number that was on the tag, which was his phone number and the veterinarian's number. Was unable to reach anybody, so the following day...
What day of the week was the 24th of June?
It was on Sunday.
Okay, go ahead.
On the 25th, I had called the vet and reported it, that I found the dog and where, and left my name and phone number with them.
Did you speak to a person or an answering machine?
I spoke to the person.
Okay.
Later Monday night, the dog was having seizures. So I called the vet the following next day to see if they were able to locate him, and they still didn't. And I had continued to keep calling his home because they gave me his name and his address and everything.
Did you do anything for the dog when the dog was having seizures?
I just did what the veterinarian said, just stay with them and talk to them and just be there with them.
What kind of dog was it?
It's a poodle.
You have any animals of your own?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What kind of animals?
I have Chihuahuas and a Basset Hound.
So you have small ones and then one short one, but long.
Short and
and
long.
heavy.
Big ears.
Big ears. Go ahead.
I continued to keep calling all week, and we finally got a hold of him on Friday, or to his wife.
Almost a week later.
Yes,
found the dog on a Sunday. The following Friday, you got in touch with him. Okay, you spoke to his wife.
I had spoken to his wife, told her my name and phone number, and that I had found the dog and where, gave her my address for them to come pick it up. And she had told me about a reward money.
Where's your wife?
She's at home with our children.
Go ahead.
I didn't even know anything about the reward money. His wife had told me, and she said that they have not told their kids because they didn't know what to say to their kids.
Did she say she was paying the reward money?
No, ma'am. She said that a kennel was.
So who came to pick up the dog?
He did about an hour later.
And you gave him the dog?
I gave him the dog.
Did you have a discussion with him about this reward money?
He told me that he had talked to the kennel, and the reward money still stood since I had found the dog, and he's going to make sure I got the reward money.
That's what he said to you?
That's not what
Shh, just a second. That's what he said to you?
That's exactly what he said in front of my daughter and my son and nephews.
Okay. And you never got the reward money?
No, ma'am, he went and picked it up.
Okay. Now, Mr. Oldham.
Yes, ma'am.
I gather that you were on vacation, which is why the dog was kennelled, according to what I read in your papers.
Yes, it was.
When did you go on vacation?
I left on a Saturday afternoon.
And how long were you and your family away?
Till Thursday afternoon.
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, we got back on a Friday. I apologize.
Good. Now, during the time you were away on vacation, you had no idea that this dog that you had put in a kennel,
No.
right? Let me finish my question, then you can say no. While you were away for that week, you had no information that your dog that you had placed in a kennel had somehow gotten loose, escaped, and lost. Is that right?
That's right.
So you get home Friday, and you get a call from the plaintiff.
Yes, ma'am.
Who told you she had your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went and got your dog.
That's not exactly how the events took place.
Well, tell me how they took place.
Okay, we got back home that afternoon, and my mother-in-law called me, first of all, and told me that a dog had been stolen from the kennels. She said she didn't call us when we were on vacation because she didn't want us to bother us while we were on vacation. There was nothing we could have done anyway.
Good idea. See how smart your mother-in-law is?
Very smart. Very smart. So we directly after that, we called the kennels, and my wife talked to her, and my wife lost it. She was bawling, and I got on the phone, and I told her, I said, how can you tell me that my dog was stolen? It was the only dog stolen. She said, well, it was, and I told her I was to be right there. I went down there to talk to her person to person.
Now, the kennel and your vet are two different people, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead. So you went down, you spoke to the kennel people. What happened next?
Well, she called 5 minutes after I got off the phone.
Fine, so that's what I said before.
I'm
She
sorry.
called you.
She called me 5 minutes after I got off the phone with the kennels.
Did you ever call your vet?
Yes.
Pay careful attention to what I'm asking you. When you called your vet, did your vet advise you that they had received a telephone call days before from the plaintiff?
No.
Did you ask them?
Yes.
And what did they say?
They said they received a telephone call from her asking about our dog.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, sir. I'm not playing with you.
I'm sorry. I
They
didn't understand the
received a
question.
telephone call from the plaintiff days before
Yes, ma'am.
saying, I found this dog. Here is the tag number.
No, ma'am. They called. She said that the information that they asked was they wanted to know about the dog. They wanted to know information about my dog. They did not tell her that they'd found my dog. They said they wanted to know information about my dog because it had seizures.
Oh, I don't think that that's true, Mr. Oldman. I think you're making that up, sir.
I've got a letter from the veterinarian.
I don't think that that's true, sir. Mr. Oldham.
I've got a letter from the veterinarian also.
Yeah, I'd like to see both letters.
It's just showing my dog's
Shh. All right. This is a letter dated July 27th. Just saved me a phone call because I'm not stupid. This is what he's going to tell me if I call. I had a phone conversation about a month ago with a lady who had found a poodle on Interstate 30. She was attempting to find the owner of the dog and reported that the dog had seizures. The dog had been vaccinated at our clinic, and she had obtained the name and phone number of the owner and stated that she attempted to contact him. This is from your vet.
Okay. Right. Yes, ma'am.
Ah. Now, did the kennel pay you any money?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
How much money did the kennel pay you?
She gave me $500 for her irresponsibility and compensation.
Baloney! I absolutely believe the plaintiff when she said to me that she was told there was a reward. Not a reward that you were going to pay for the dog, but a reward that the kennel was offering for the dog.
No, ma'am. I mean,
No, ma'am.
I went up there to get my dog from the kennels.
Yeah.
After I got it, it was infested with fleas. I took it to the kennels and I said, would you please dip it? It's infested with fleas. The conversation we had between her was that we believed that she had something to do with the stealing of my dog.
I want to tell you something, Mr. Oldham. There is something wrong with your mind. Why would somebody who stole your dog call the vet, report that she had found this dog, say, I don't understand that the dog has seizures. Could you help me out? I don't know what to do with the dog has seizures. Then pick up the phone and try to call you. Now, there's no question she had been trying to call you continuously because she called you on the day you returned from vacation. You think that that was just an act of God that she called you just on that day? She had been calling you continuously all week. What you did was the wrong thing. You should have paid her yourself for finding your dog. Instead, the kennel, who was responsible for lax security, offered a reward. She found the dog. She wasn't even looking for the reward. She wasn't. She was promised the reward because she was told that there was a reward. And then you went, picked up the money, and kept it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Thank you.
Dr. Rosa. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Don't bring out, don't touch anything. Mr. Sheftel, according to your complaint, you are in the business of making customized chocolates.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant had been a customer of yours for some time.
Yes.
There came a time when she ordered a customized item.
Correct.
Which you claim you delivered to her, put on a credit card.
Correct.
She stopped payment on the credit card and returned the chocolate.
Yes.
You say there was nothing wrong with the product and you want her to pay for it.
Correct.
Mr. Rosa says the product was defective and delivered late, right?
Yes, my horse looked deformed.
Okay. How long had she been a customer of your business?
About 5 or 6 years.
With no problem?
Never had a problem.
What kind of customized chocolates had she ordered previously?
The coins, I brought these to show you. They're customized chocolate coins with an imprint with her company or horse's name on them.
Fine.
And she ordered it by the thousands.
And what was this customized order that she made when she returned the order?
Okay, she had placed an order for thousands of chocolate coins. She came to pick them up on Valentine's Day, one of my busiest days of the year. While she was picking them up, she was on her way to a horse show. She asked if there was anything new that we're doing. You know, she's always interested in something different. And I showed her the photo chocolates that we do. That is an imprint of, you give us a photograph and we make it into the chocolate and the whole thing is edible. She was all excited. She happened to have with her a picture of her horse, which is on the back of a phone card that she gives out as a promotional item. She gave it to me.
Can I see it, Bert?
I went into the back and I said, if you want, I'll make one up real quick for you. I can do that. So I went into the back and I made one very quick for her, just to give her an idea. This is the exact sample that I made for her.
Let me see.
No, I ate the sample. I have an eating disorder. I ate the sample.
Listen, Mr. Rosa, don't speak until I speak to you.
Sorry.
Don't look back there. Look here. Don't forget. Don't speak. Okay, so this, you say, is the sample you made for her.
Yes, here. This is the finished product that we actually shipped out, several hundred of these.
Okay.
And you can take them out of the box if you'd like.
Just a minute. I don't want to take them out of the box. Okay. Okay. How many of these did she order?
200.
And what was the price?
The total came to $562.50.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The chocolates are done individually handmade, so it's not like they're done through a machine and they're all identical. They're all done by hand. Okay, we take the picture that she gave us, which you have, and we make a master sheet of them.
Listen to me. I don't plan on going into the chocolate business.
Okay.
So I'm not interested on how you do it and whether it's a good product or not good product. Listen carefully. Bird, don't eat the chocolate. That's the evidence. When did you ship out this chocolate?
The chocolate was shipped out exactly 1 week later on the 20th, and it arrived in Arizona where she needed it the next day on the 21st at 9:25 and arrived in signed for at 11:19 in Scottsdale.
Okay, she got it.
She got it within a week.
Good.
I get a call from her. She said she didn't get it in time. I said, well, what do you mean you didn't get it in time? We shipped it out. Well, she said she needed it for a party. I said, well, I was never told that you needed it for a party. This was a last-minute order. We told you we'd get it there by the end of next week. So I knew nothing about the show. That was the first thing. Then she said, well, she didn't like the way they looked. I said, well, what's wrong with them? And I never really got a correct answer from her.
Okay, let me find out. There's no question that you received the goods on the 21st of February,
Yes.
and there's no question that you stopped payment on your credit card of $562.50.
Yes.
Okay, now explain to me why.
We went in, as you said, and I'll make this very brief. He showed us the chocolates. I gave him this card, which you have in your hand. I said, could I have a sample? The reason why I brought up the eating disorder, he brought it, and I wanted to keep the sample, but we ate it on the way to Scottsdale because there's no way that chocolate can last around me. So I said to Frank, it was beautiful. I said, Frank, please make this up for the show. He sent them a day late, which I said, okay.
Just a minute. It was exactly a week later that you received them, which seems totally reasonable. So the time is not the issue.
The issue is we go through great lengths to put my horse in the best light possible. On this Visa receipt, we not only have the chocolates, but we have the gold coins. The only thing I took out of this was the chocolates, and if you look at them, it makes my horse look deformed.
Well, let me see them.
The very reason,
Just a second.
to do this is to promote something and give this to people. And I don't know if he's changed the chocolates, kept the chocolates.
These are the exact chocolates.
You didn't make new chocolates.
No,
Can I see the box,
They were shipped
please?
back. And I want to point
Can
out
I
there were
see?
2 boxes that were shipped. She shipped back the second box with never even opened it when she got it. It was completely closed the way we sent it.
All right, let's take a look at some of these randomly, all right?
And he never said they were each one was separate and they would have a different look, or I wouldn't have done it.
Well, let me ask you this question. Could you take a look at this one and tell me what's wrong with it?
All right, well, what I wanted to start to say was the chocolate... Okay.
Just look.
Yes.
Tell me what's wrong with that.
You have a little bit on the picture there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a little bit of a discoloration. What I wanted to start to say was these chocolates were shipped from the candy factory in North Hollywood to Arizona. They went from Arizona, I don't know how, to Solvang, and then shipped back from Solvang to the candy factory 3 weeks later. So they left, I packed them myself, they were great. I don't know what condition they were traveled by. This is perishable chocolate. Considering all the travel they
Well, then let me see. Is that the box that came back unopened?
Yes, I opened it before we came here to make sure.
May I see that
Yes.
box, please?
And it says on the side of the box.
Just a second. I don't care where it went to, before or after, or whatever else. This one she opened. This one,
And she
according
removed
to
10 of those bars also and sent
this,
it back.
This one, according to you, she did not open.
Correct.
And it came back to you unopened.
Correct.
So she just opened the first one, took a look at them, saw some that were defective.
That's what she says.
Well, I see that some that were defective. Here you say it may have happened later.
Correct.
So let's take a look randomly at some of these. Bird, take out some of these for me. Help me out here. Went to law school for this.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chocolate maker Frank Sheftel says Timmy DeRosa refuses to pay for the custom-made chocolate she ordered. Timmy says the chocolates were deformed.
Okay. Could you tell me why this makes your horse look deformed?
Well, this particular one doesn't. This one is faded. Would you hand this to somebody if this was the Judge Judy thing, a gavel, and your whole gavel was halfway off?
I wouldn't give somebody a picture of myself that they could eat.
Well, you know what? That...
And that's the point. These are edible. In 2 minutes, they're gone.
Then don't have beautiful ones to show.
Are you talking to each other? Don't irritate me. This case is irritating me enough.
You cannot hand these out. There's some of them where their eyes are popped, where their eyes are bulgy. This is faded. You can't give this to somebody. These are multi-$1,000 horses. His stud fee's $3,000. We ship semen all over the country.
Could I please have that back? Listen, what
I
I
would
don't
not
understand,
hand any
I'm
of this to
speaking,
anybody.
I'm speaking. Mr. Sheftel, something that I don't understand from a business perspective. Thank you. She's absolutely right that they're faded. Shh, I'm speaking. They're all faded.
6 months old.
No, they're all faded. I have no idea what they looked like before, but certainly these are faded. I don't see that they're deformed, but this isn't an oil painting. This is done in chocolate. What I don't understand from a business perspective, Mr. Sheftel, is this was a customer of yours for 6 years.
Yes.
So if she says she's dissatisfied with this part of one order that she made, it seems to me good business practice would be to say, I'll take the chocolate, I'll either eat it, or I'll mix it up in a vat, or I'll make new chocolate out of it, or I'll do something with it, but I'm not going to lose a customer of 6 years over one order. So explain that to me, because I come from a retail family, and I don't understand
So do
that.
I. The candy factory's been in business for 23 years.
This is not an advertisement for
No,
you,
I
sir.
understand
So
that, but what I'm
explain
trying
me-
to say is we don't put out an inferior product. What you're seeing here is chocolate that is now 7 months old, okay? And it fades. Chocolate, as you know, fades. These were in prime condition. Maybe there was something wrong with the shipping. Maybe they were left in the sun. I don't know. When they were shipped back to me, I opened them, I looked at them. There was nothing wrong with them.
Listen, what would be the reason for the defendant, she had been a good customer, to order them and then send them back to you? She clearly liked what you did. She came to your place. She ordered it off.
She's called me since then to place another order. She called me 2 months ago to place an order.
No, what I said is do them right, and I will buy them.
No, your husband called me and asked me if he could place an order, and I said, we still have
An
this
order
outstanding.
for what?
For more chocolates.
No.
Hey! For what kind of chocolate?
We didn't even get that far.
Okay, because you said you still have this outstanding issue.
And another point I'd like to make is, she says that I could give them out as samples. I've shown them to people, actually. I do show them. I have one in the case. I think there's nothing wrong with them.
They're fake. Shh. they're faded, they're not great. And your customer didn't like them. I believe that she acted in good faith by returning them almost immediately. She said, I don't like the way they look.
It wasn't immediately. She took 10 or 15 out of one of the boxes.
Just a minute, did you take any out of the box?
When the boxes actually got there, everyone looked through them and then they said, look, this one's deformed, this one's deformed, and the person that does the advertising.
Answer my question.
I don't know if there may be some out of the boxes that we handed out.
Well, then you pay for half. You can't use some. I don't care if you use 5 or 10 or 15 and say, I don't want the rest. The rest are no good.
No, that's not the point at all. That is not what happened at all.
That's exactly what happened.
No, it's not. Actually, I showed people how deformed they were.
And you didn't put them back. If you showed them how deformed they were and you didn't put all the items back because somebody took them, somebody ate them.
I told you then.
Don't talk to him.
No, I told
Talk
Frank
to me.
then. I told him then. I said, count them when you get them. I would not go to hell over 20 bucks.
So some people did take some.
No, not as a promotional item.
I don't care what they took them as.
No, I did not hand them out. They were at the barn. And I said, we cannot use them. Look at this. And everyone said, these look awful. We called Frank. I had no...
Madam, you're not answering my question. I don't care whether you used them as a promotional item or whether you gave them away as Christmas presents or you gave them to the Easter Bunny. Somebody ate them, and it wasn't him. Okay, as I said to you, and I'm not going to waste another second on this case, I think it's very bad business to sue a good customer. But I also think that you can't accept partial order, use some of the partial order, send the other one back without even having opened it, and say, they're probably all no good. So, listen to what I'm telling you. You see the box that you didn't open? That's this box, Bert? Which box didn't she open? That one?
Yep.
And we took a whole bunch out of this, right?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Quiet! I don't want to hear another thing. I got important business to take care of. There. You see that box? This came from here. This one is his order. That one is his sample. You see that box? Give it to her. She just bought half an order. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $280. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He usually makes excellent products, and this time he didn't, and that's a shame.
It's a reflection of the horse. That's what the horse looks like. If it's deformed, it's because the horse is deformed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lyons versus Mason. Step forward, please.
30-year-old child care provider Tara Lyons is suing her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old lab technician James Mason, for unpaid rent and a car loan.
Ms. Lyons, according to your complaint, you met the defendant on the internet.
Yes.
A tool that I don't use very well. And then you met.
Yes.
When did you meet?
We met about August of 2000.
And then there came a time when you decided to live together and he moved in with you.
Yes. And it was kind of like iffy and off and on for about 2-3 weeks, and then he permanently stayed there and he moved all his stuff in.
When?
All about September of 2000. And then in October, he moved his stuff out of our room into a spare bedroom that I have.
And he was staying there as a tenant?
Yes, he was staying there as a tenant.
That must have been uncomfortable.
Not really. We still had conjugal visits.
That's more information than I needed. Okay.
The arrangement was that when he moved out of our bedroom into the spare bedroom, I said, well, if we're going to live like roommates, then you need to pay rent. And so we agreed on $200, and he was going to start paying in November 1st.
Okay. When did he make his first month's rent payment?
He never did.
When did he move out?
He moved his body out on the 2nd. He moved the remainder.
2nd of what?
The 2nd of January. He removed the remainder of his stuff around between the 18th and the 22nd
So
of
by
January.
January, he's gone. November, he's supposed to pay rent. You say he never paid rent, so he's got November and December rent.
And 2 days in January.
Forget 2 days in January. Stop being silly. What else do you claim he owes you?
He owes me little odds and ends, like he needed $40 here and
I don't want to hear $40 here and $40 there.
Okay, well, I kept track of it.
Did he sign a note for the money?
No, I wrote it in front of him, and he agreed to it.
You remember that?
No.
That she wrote a note in front of you and you agreed to it?
Right before I moved out.
Just to answer my question.
All right.
You don't remember her writing down little pieces of paper?
I remember her handing me a note.
And the note said that you owed her how much?
Like $600.
You have the note that you gave him?
I have the receipt from the first payment after he had left. On January 20th, he paid me $100 to be deducted from the $610.43 that he owed. So he owed me $510.43.
That sound right? Look at me.
I don't know.
Look, January 20th, 2001,
Yeah.
you gave her $100.
Uh-huh.
That leaves a balance of $510.43. After January 20th, 2001, did you give her any more money?
Yes.
Show me.
Right here.
Good. Okay. Did he give you any money on February 18th?
Yes, he gave me another $100.
Right. How come you didn't tell me that?
No, I just said I had a receipt for the first 100.
Okay.
He gave me
And
another
did he-
100.
And he gave you another 100 on April 15th?
No, he did not.
Show me that you gave her another $100 on April 15th.
That's all I have. And she would call me and say, you know, it's almost payday. And she'd say, are you going to have some money for me? And I'd say, yeah, Tara, I'll have some money for you. And I'd come over and I'd drop off the money and give it to her.
No, he didn't. We would have emailed each other back and forth, which means I would have had records of it through email. Most of my stuff, my information is through the emails. That's how I know exactly how much he owes me. My last email from him was on May 9th. I wrote him, it says, I haven't heard from you. I'm still waiting for you to pay me on May 11th. On May 10th, he wrote me, no, I will not be stopping by. I cannot afford to pay you this month, maybe next month. May 16th, I wrote him back. I will write you in June. On June 1st, I wrote him, okay, what day of this month is good for you? This was at 9:29 p.m. On June 1st at 9:49 p.m., he wrote me back, none. Then on June 2nd, I had wrote him back, why is it taking you so long to pay me back? You owe me less than $420. On the 4th at 7:06, he wrote me, I will not be paying you. I cannot afford anymore. Sorry.
Well, he owes you right now
$410.43.
Right.
I don't know that money.
You have those communications with her?
Yeah, I send her the emails, but I mean,
Mr. Mason, according to this piece of paper that you gave me, you owe her $310.
yeah.
All right? Let's assume that I take your figure as accurate, which I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to do. Why didn't you pay her the $310?
Because I don't owe it to her.
Just a minute. You just handed me this piece of paper, sir.
Yeah.
According to this piece of paper, your evidence, you still owe her $310. Why didn't you give her the $310 that, according to your piece of paper, you still owe her?
I don't say that I owe her that other $300.
I do. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $410. Thank you.
Parties are. This is case number 173 on the calendar in the matter of Truslow versus Walker Carter. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Ms. Truslow, the defendant, Mr. Carter,
Yes.
was a former boyfriend of yours.
Yes.
The co-defendant, Ms. Walker, is his current girlfriend. They have a child together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, Ms. Truslow, the two of them assaulted you.
Yes.
They say you started the whole problem, you precipitated the assault, and they are counterclaiming for harassment. So that's what this case is about.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
It happened on January 11th of this year, but the night before it happened, on January 10th, I had stopped by his cousin's house. At the time, I was 6 months pregnant with his daughter. And I stopped by there, and I go inside, and he walks me into the kitchen, and he's like, you know, me and Yolanda got back together because they dated in high school, and he was like, but I really don't want to be with her. I want things to work out with you. I was like, okay, and he was like, well, call me later. So I leave. How
many children do you have?
One.
With this lady?
Yeah.
You have a child?
Yes. We go Monday for the blood test.
We already took the paternity test on our half. We just
I
waiting
have
on
to
her.
go Monday, so. But here's a picture of her if you'd like to see. I don't know. But anyway, so then I leave, and he
How
was
old are
like,
you?
how old am I? I'm 18.
And how old are you?
21.
What do you do for a living?
Work.
Work. Could you stand still? Try standing still. What kind of work do you do?
Work at Burger King.
Burger King. Go ahead.
Okay.
So he's in the kitchen and he's smooching with you.
Yeah,
You're 6 months pregnant, and
yeah.
he says, I'm back with her, but I don't want to be back with her. I really want to be back with you.
Yeah. So
Go
then he
ahead.
tells me to call him later on. He was going to a game or something, whatever. So I called him that
You ought
night.
to be
and
going
he
to his
wasn't-
second job.
Huh?
Go ahead, nothing.
Oh, so I called him that night and he wasn't there. I had a doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock the next morning. So I go by his house. I had never seen her before. I'd never met her before until
Is
that
this
day.
your first child?
This is my first child. So I go by his house and he stayed in the basement. So I go around to the basement. I was on my way taking my
What did you
friend
go to his house for?
to see if he wanted to go to the doctor with me, because he had told me to call him the night before. and because he had already went to one
Why didn't you
doctor's
call him?
appointment. I did call him, but I didn't call him that morning. I was on the way.
Why didn't you call him that morning?
I don't know. I didn't know that she was going to be there. I had no idea. I mean, the day before he was telling me, you know, that he wanted to get back with me. I didn't. If she was going to be there, I wouldn't have never came. So I go by there and knock on the door, and Yolanda answers the door. And I was kind of surprised, and I was like, well, is Josh here? And so he comes to the door. And I was like, you know, what's going on? Why last night you're telling me that you want to work things out and she's here? And he's like, you know, he really didn't say too much. So me and him go into the other room. It's like a laundry room in their house, and we're in there talking. And I'm questioning him, you know, why did you say this if you really didn't want to work things out? Well, Yolanda's like, well, I heard you wanted to fight me and da-da-da. And I was like, you know what, I didn't come down here to fight you. I just came down here to talk to Josh. So me and him are in the other room talking, and his mom has like a stick that she used to hold her sliding glass door with. And Yolanda hits me in the back of the head with it, and it breaks in two. Well, I turn around to like defend myself. She's pulling my hair, hitting me with the other half of the stick, and Josh steps in between us and pushes me down on the left seat. And I'm trying, every time I try to get up, he's still pushing me down, and she's pulling my hair, hitting me with the other half of the stick. And so his grandma comes downstairs, and so then they both back up. The other half of the stick had like flew kind of to the other side of the room where the door was. So I get up off the couch and I'm crying, and I was like, fine, if you wanted to fight like that, then I'm going to go get you locked up. So I grab the other half of the stick, I leave out the door, and I'm all upset.
What'd you grab the other half of the stick for?
Because I was going to use that as evidence to show that's what she hit me with. But I was at my car with my door open, willing to leave. I was not, you know, trying to start anything else. They come outside. He walks over to my car and pushes me, jerks the stick out of my hand, and tells me to get the F on. So I go home, I tell my mom, and we go get warrants on both of them. And then I went by and saw my obstetrician to make sure that my baby was okay. They did the little heart monitor thing. She said everything was fine, and if I had any problems, any bleeding or anything, to make sure I went to the emergency room. The next morning when I woke up, I was in a lot of pain. My neck, my shoulders were really sore. I was having cramps in my stomach, I guess, from trying to get up and down off the couch. So I go to the emergency room, and I have the copy of that right here. So if you need,
She didn't bring that to the first.
It's kind of faded. So, but when we went to court, they didn't question Josh.
You were arrested.
No, we weren't arrested.
Yeah, I have that right here.
There was a trial.
There was a trial, yes.
And you were acquitted.
What does that mean?
Found not guilty.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you?
Dismissed.
No. He was found not guilty. Her case was dismissed.
He was found not guilty.
Yeah, and he didn't even say anything.
Shh. Okay. And her case was dismissed when?
The same day. They tried both of them at the same time.
So they were both found not guilty?
No. They had two lawyers against my one, okay? It was really...
Stop! Of course they had two separate lawyers.
I know
you don't have
but
your own lawyer. You have the
I
district
understand
attorney.
that.
Fine. So both found not guilty. Either you're guilty or you're not guilty. Whether you're dismissed, whatever. You're not guilty.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Now, shh.
Okay.
I don't understand one thing, madam. You said to me a moment ago when you started this discussion with me, you said that you would never have gone to the house if you knew she was there.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you said that when you went to the house that morning, instead of calling first,
Okay.
why don't you receive instead of talking?
I'm listening.
Good. And if you saw her because she answered the door, why didn't you just leave?
I didn't know I was going to get beat up, you know?
I'll try answering my question. You got a hot temper. You're not helping your case.
Sorry.
You told me if you knew she was there, you never would have gone.
Yes.
She opens the door. You see she's there. Why didn't you leave?
Because I still wanted to find out what was going on, you
Well,
know?
why don't you find out what was going on by picking up the phone and calling sometime later and saying, hey, Josh, what's going on?
Yeah, I could
Yeah,
have done
good.
that.
Now, tell me your version of these events.
It started off 2 days prior to the day of the fight. I had came by to drop my daughter off. I was going to my cousin's house or whatever, and Josh and her were on the phone. I guess they were arguing or whatever on the phone, but he ended up hanging the phone up on her, and when he got off the phone, he told me, he said, Nikki says she's going to F you up. And I was like, why is she saying that? I don't even know this girl. Never seen her a day before in my life. Okay, then the phone rung again.
Did you stop right there? Did you have a conversation with the plaintiff a couple of days before this incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call her or did she call you?
She called me.
What did she say when she called you?
She just wanted to know what was going on.
What was going on? What do you mean, what was going on?
Me and her getting back together.
And what did you say to her?
I said, we're not getting back together.
Did she at that point say anything about Miss Walker?
Yeah, she said she was going to F her up.
Did she say why?
No, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tabitha Truslow says ex-boyfriend Josh Carter and his fiancée, Yolanda Walker, assaulted her with a stick.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so after he told me that, the phone had rung again. And so I answered, he told me, he said, if it's Nikki, tell her I don't want to talk to her, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so I answered the phone, and she goes, is Josh there? And I was like, he doesn't want to talk to you. So then I asked her, you know, why did you tell him that you're going to F me up and you don't even know nothing about me? She was like, well, as soon as my car gets back here, I'll be over there to fight you. That night, she came over there with 2 girls. I was not there. His mother and Josh was there, and she and 2 other girls that came over there to fight me.
Did you go over to his house 2 days before?
I did not.
Did your mother see her over there?
Yes, ma'am.
If I called his mother, would she say that you were over there 2 days before?
I don't know, but...
oh, she probably would.
But also, could I...
Don't say anything other than answering my questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What happened when she came over a couple of days before this incident?
She just started cussing and talking about she was going to beat her up. Where's Yolanda at?
Go ahead.
Okay, then the next day, which was the 10th, it was on a Wednesday, I had went to go pick them up from his cousin's house. I gets there, he comes and tells me, Nikki came out here today, talking about she's going to beat you up again, and she came by the house last night, and my 3-year-old daughter at the time overheard her say that...
Don't tell me what anybody overheard.
Okay, well, Thursday comes, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning, and she knocks on the door, I go answer the door, she walks in the house, uninvited. I asked her, I said, well, why did you, you know, say this stuff about me around my daughter? That was the main point. She said, Yolanda, I didn't come down here for this, da-da-da-da-da-da.
No, don't do da-da-da-da-da-da-da. She didn't say da-da-da-da-da. I didn't come here for this. Go ahead.
She said she didn't come here for this, and that, you know, she only wanted to talk to Josh or whatever. And I told her, I said, Nikki, I said, next time, don't come over here no more. She was just like, well, I can come over here anytime I want. I said, well, don't come over here while I'm here. So then she was like, B-I-T-C-H, da-da-da-da-da, something. And then I'm sorry with the da-da-da-da-da. But it ended up where she was like, I'll whip your da-da-da-da, whip your butt. And then so I was like, you ain't gonna do nothing. So at this time, they were at the sliding glass door. Josh was like, probably like this to her. And she was behind him, and she was like, I'll whip your da-da-da-da-da. Shoot, I got to have with it. And so she said, I'll whip your butt or whatever. And so I got up, you know, I was sitting on the couch. So I said, you ain't going to do nothing. I said, but I know you better not come over here next time. So she had grabbed the stick, and she was like, what, like that? She came at me with the stick. I grabbed the stick from her. And when she had did like this, I grabbed it like this, and I took it from her, and I hit her with it. And then from there, we had wrestled, and she had... I ended up tossing her on the couch. I had completely dropped the stick by then. The stick was on the floor when she picked it up. And I was just hitting her in the head. Josh came in between us and grabbed me and, you know, took my hand out of her hair or whatever. And then she ran to get the stick, and then she ran out the house, and the first thing we thought was, oh, my car. I thought she was going to bust the windows out my car, because she just ran out of the house with the stick in her hand.
So he ran out and got the stick?
Yeah, he ran out and got the stick from her.
Okay. Let me hear about your counterclaim.
Okay, about the counterclaim.
Make sure it's a good one, unless you want to withdraw it.
She has harassed us the whole time. She calls the house. We had to get the number changed. She goes to his job.
Can I say something? No.
She goes to his job, tells him he shouldn't marry me. She talks bad about me.
He must be some bargain.
Try to get a...
He must be really a bargain. Do you have any money in a Swiss bank account? You have a Swiss bank account?
No.
That maybe they don't know about, or they do know about?
She tried to get a job where I worked at, too. That's why.
At Burger King?
Yes, ma'am.
And he ended up...
And I ended up quitting.
And then she didn't want the job there anymore.
So that's harassment?
Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of issues. She sent mail to the house.
You don't have a lawsuit for harassment. 2 women probably have a lawsuit for stupidity against somebody.
Could I say something, ma'am?
No, say nothing. You made a mistake. Probably you did too. Your mistake is 3 years old, and your mistake is a newborn.
My daughter's
because,
mistake.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because it tied you permanently to him. That means you 2 women are tied permanently to him when you were children. Children. Children having children is stupid. Children who don't know how to behave themselves is stupid. So don't tell me you're not stupid, and don't tell me these 2 children weren't mistakes. Big time. Now, you had no business going over there. I absolutely believe her that you were there before, that you had some inclination that that's where she stayed.
I didn't know.
Then you should have seen her at the door, closed the door, and left. and
I
left.
just wanted to
I
make
don't
sure
believe. I
that
don't
he
believe
didn't-
you. Listen to me very carefully, madam. You had
Can I
no
also say
business.
something?
Say nothing. Your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. Next time, I want you to both, if you have any extra bucks, go to the store, buy birth control. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
No, it's here. Just leave us alone.
She can have them and have 10 kids by them.
Please, don't get involved with people like her. Please don't.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Durham versus Creech. Step forward, please.
18-year-old baseball player Justin Durham is suing his ex-fiancée, 19-year-old waitress Kara Creech, for the return of an engagement ring. Kara is countersuing for the return of her class ring.
Mr. Durham, you and the defendant were engaged to be married. It didn't work out. You want the engagement ring back.
That's right.
Ms. Creech says that you have some property of hers, you have a class ring, and there are some other expenses that she believes that are your responsibility as a result of this failed wedding. She is counterclaiming. She said you didn't pay for these rings yourself. There was some down payment made by her mother. So when did you become engaged?
Well, it was about 4 months ago.
Look at me. Not
I had asked her mom to help me with $100 to make the down payment on the ring. So she did. With no more than 3 days later, I gave her a crisp $100 bill.
Did he give you back $100?
Yes, he just didn't pay the 10. I gave him 110, that was all.
Fine, so that's a wash. So that's taken care of. So other than the down payment, initially, you paid for the ring?
Right.
So 4 months ago, are you laughing? Is this funny?
No.
4 months ago, you became engaged. And for how long were you engaged?
For about five months.
1 month.
Just a second. Mr. Durham, I'm not very good at math. If you became engaged 4 months ago and you were engaged for 5 months, then we're talking about Back to the Future. Do you understand? How long were you engaged?
About a month and a half.
And what happened?
She cheated on me.
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, so as a result of that, you say the engagement was broken.
Right.
You broke the engagement.
No, she did.
Can I see the ring, please? Who has the receipt for the ring?
I do.
I have one too.
Can I see both, please? How much did you pay for this ring?
$549.
No. You have a ring and then there's a bridal set.
I have the other piece. It was a set. It wasn't a separate piece.
Well, it's billed separately, sir. One says $371 and the other item was $128. So here we have the engagement ring. Now, is the engagement ring $371? Let's get it together, please. I mean, this is not, I've got a secret. Would you answer me?
Yes.
Yes, what?
The ring was $400.
$371.
$371, sorry.
Where's the other piece of this, the $128 set? You have that?
Right.
Can I see it, please? Okay. Very nice. And I see it's a nice little set because one of these things fits in here like this. I don't know how it does it. I'm never very good at that. There you go. Very pretty. Okay. So here's this piece back. Now, he gets them both. Engagement ring. Engagement's off. Engagement ring is given in contemplation of marriage. No more engagement. He gets the ring back. Return them. Sell them. Contemplate them. Now let's get to your counterclaim. Do you have her class ring?
Yes, I do.
Where is it? Perfect. Look how easy this is going to be. It's going to be a piece of cake. Class ring. He gets the receipts. She gets the class ring.
Got it.
Perfect. Now she's got a class ring back. Now, miscellaneous wedding expenses that you think he should pay for. You say you broke off this engagement.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Because I have a 1-year-old son and I am not putting what he does around my son. He came to my house one night and he was high and he was drunk.
Okay. And you thought it was a bad idea?
Yes.
So you broke off the engagement. And you have a wedding dress and some little wedding expenses.
Yes.
Then you made a good choice. You pay for those. You should have thought twice about becoming engaged to somebody that you knew for a relatively short period of time. Right?
Yes.
So consider yourself very lucky. Dye your engagement dress another color. Yellow. Use it again. And if he was the wrong person for you, it's a very cheap price. Right?
Yes.
Good luck. Everybody's got their property back? Goodbye.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
You are Mr.
Murray.
So you are the father of the...
Bride.
And Miss Rose, you're the mother of the groom.
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you?
Groom.
Where's the bride?
She couldn't be here. She was too upset over these matters, Your Honor.
I believe it. Okay. Bert, I want you to listen to this very carefully. You haven't married any of your children yet, right?
Not yet.
According to the complaint and the counterclaim, the two families were planning a wonderful wedding for their children, and now the wedding, which has taken place, is over. And each of the parents are suing and countersuing the others for monies that they say are owed to them as a result of the expenses for the wedding. We're not talking about a lot of money here. Mr. Murray, you claim that Mrs. Rose owes you $573.79. And Mrs. Rose, you say that Mr. Murray owes you $2,999.45. First, let me hear what the claims are before I rush to judgment. Okay, sir. When was the wedding planned?
The wedding was planned for March 31st.
And you like the bridegroom?
Yes.
Nice guy?
Yes.
You think your daughter likes him?
I hope so.
She's known him for a while?
Yes, I think they've known each other 3-4 years, something like that.
And looking forward to a wonderful life together.
Hopefully.
So tell me how much you say you're owed by Miss Rose, and for what?
All right, I think the total is $573.79. She wanted to have the reception at her club, which is
Who wanted to have the
bar.
reception at the club?
Pat, Mrs. Rose wanted to have the reception at her club or bar, or I think the sign on the front says honky tonk.
It's not a honky tonk. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Matter of fact, I have pictures of
Just
showing that.
talk to me, sir.
But anyway, we met there 2 weeks before the wedding to go over things that need to be done and this and that and the other. And she'd asked, in fact, about a week or so before that, if we could clean the carpet. We own and operate a carpet cleaning business. So we agreed that we'd come in and clean the carpet, and the deal was...
You mean before the wedding?
Before the wedding. And the deal was on the carpet was that we would clean the carpet for whatever it cost for materials.
Go ahead.
We went in and cleaned the carpet. In fact, my wife and my stepson had went and cleaned the carpet. They were in there for like 6 hours. We used somewhere around 60 gallons or 62.5 gallons of cleaner in this restaurant. It was extremely, extremely bad. I mean, for the square foot of a bar.
It was a dirty carpet, and you cleaned it. That's your business.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, Thursday night we stopped by the club. They were in there starting to set up. They were blowing up balloons, I believe. She said she didn't have a way to go to the store to pick up some of the food items that she wanted to prepare for the reception. And we said, well, we can go do that. My wife left, went to the grocery store, picked up the food items, brought them back. We said we would settle up after the wedding. The wedding took place on Saturday. Monday, we went back in to pick up some of our things. In fact, we'd sent her a bill later on that week after we'd got everything together. She called and said that she didn't think she owed that kind of money. We sent her receipts. We heard nothing.
Okay, so your receipts are for what, sir?
The receipts are for the items that were bought at the grocery store.
And how much was that?
$53.24.
$53.24 of the items you bought at the grocery store. And what else?
We'd taken some ribbons and things by for table decorations. I mean, it's just simple things like 94 cents on ribbons and stuff like that.
So, yeah, go ahead, 94 cents. What else?
Right. It was some things in there from Food Line.
All total,
Meat.
sir, for the items that you picked up for her, that you have receipts for, how much do you have receipts for?
Oh, Lord. Be $123.79, I believe, Your Honor.
$123.79. All right. And what's the other money for?
The other money, the $450, was for materials used in carpet cleaning.
Okay. That's what your claim is, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let me hear from you. What's your claim about?
Would you like these receipts?
No.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, when I talked to his wife, Mrs. Murray, about cleaning my carpets, I told her it was for the wedding because I wanted the carpets to be clean for the reception. First, she said, no charge. I said, no, I will not let you do it free of charge. She says, well, why don't we get the boys to clean the carpets and I'll charge you for the chemicals? And I said, that's fine. How much do you think that'll be? She said $25 or $30. I agreed to that. The boys came in, they cleaned the carpets. And then the Thursday is he was talking about her going to the grocery store.
I don't want to hear about the grocery
store.
store.
They came over to...
Shh. I don't want to hear about the grocery store. I want to hear about your counterclaim.
Oh, my counterclaim. Okay.
Right, that's what I want to hear about.
Okay, my counterclaim is $2,999.45. These are charges incurred because of the wedding, the rental of the dance area, which is half of what I would normally have charged.
Why did you charge him anything?
Well,
why'd you charge him anything?
It's a business.
What?
I coughed up $400
for what?
For the rental of the business.
No. Listen
I closed my business down, Your Honor, for 10 hours.
Just a second. How long was the reception?
The reception started at 4.
And was over at what time?
4:30, 5 o'clock, and it went on to 12.
Were there other people in the bar?
Not customers, no. Everybody was in there, was invited to the wedding.
Fine. How many children do you have?
One, thank God.
Good. So you have one child, and you happen to have a place where they could have the wedding. So what's the big deal if you close your place for a
No
night?
big deal.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephen Murray says mother of the groom, Pat Rose, owes for money spent on his stepdaughter's wedding. Pat says it's Stephen who owes.
What's next?
Preparation and setup.
What does that mean?
That was doing the decorations, all the things that had to be done, setting up for the food area, for the cake, the decorations for the club.
What else?
Clean up.
What else?
Rental of linens.
Linens?
They did not want to use my white ones. They wanted the champagne ones.
Fine. How much was that?
$65.
Good. Go.
I have invoices.
No. I want you to keep talking to me.
Okay. The food.
How much was the food?
My cost on the food was $601. I called a caterer to find out how much.
How many people were at the wedding?
187 people RSVP'd.
No. How many people came to the wedding?
I didn't do a head count, Your Honor.
But a lot of people.
Yes, it was full.
Okay, and the total cost of the food was approximately $601?
Right.
Okay, what else?
Champagne.
How much was that? Your cost?
$210. She agreed to pay for this.
Okay, what's next?
The bands and the DJs.
Are these regular employees of yours?
No, you book bands and DJs as you need them.
No, I'm asking you. Were these regular employees of yours? Did you pay them by the week? Did you pay them by...
No, you booked them per occasion. I had booked a band in there. Mrs. Murray called me and insisted that I cancel the band. I told her that it would be just as cheap for me to let them go ahead and play because I had to pay a cancellation fee. She said she wanted a DJ and karaoke to cancel my band. I did. I paid the cancellation fee, hired a DJ, and as soon as I...
Now, do you give me some idea of what the cost was for the music?
I paid $290 cancellation fee. Then I had to turn around and pay another band that she insisted that I hire, $300. The DJ and karaoke was $250.
Okay, what else?
And then there was additional wait staff, loss of linens due to the fountain, and the carpet. I have invoices for all this, Your Honor.
I'm being very arbitrary here. There are certain costs that I'm considering in my head and certain costs that I'm not. Now, Mr. Murray, how many children do you have, sir?
I have 2, and I have 2 stepchildren.
I want to know how many children you have.
2, 1 daughter, 1 son.
And how much did you pay out of pocket for her wedding?
That was my stepdaughter that got married, Your Honor.
Oh, it was your stepdaughter that got married. Well, that's your daughter. Step up.
Your Honor.
Just a minute. Your name is Miss Murray?
My name's Darlene Murray.
You have 1 daughter?
I have 2 children, 1 daughter, 1 son.
Are you employed?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What I want to know is how much the parents of the bride actually expended for this wedding and what you spent it for.
Your Honor, first of all, may I please say...
Say nothing except answering my question. How much money did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
My agreement...
That's not what I asked you. How much did you spend to feed the guests at the wedding?
I would say that I spent over $200.
For what?
The rehearsal dinner, unbeknownst to me, was at my home. That was not pre-planned.
Who planned a rehearsal dinner at your home without your knowledge?
There was not to be, Your Honor, a rehearsal dinner because the rehearsal was going to be at 7 o'clock in the evening, the night prior to the wedding.
Right.
My son just got married last May, and it was
How
also-
did you get to have a rehearsal dinner at your house without your knowledge?
Because we were doing dinner for the guests that were coming in from out of town
Mostly
that
family
would be
members.
staying.
Your
The day-
guests.
Correct.
Just a second. Just a second. Your guests.
Correct.
From out of town.
Correct.
Were any of the groom's guests from out of town at this rehearsal dinner?
They were not to be, but at the last minute, because of not planning correctly, Miss Rose informed me that they would then come to our house after the rehearsal.
Honor.
So I ended up with their family and our out-of-town guests at our home for a rehearsal dinner that we prepared all the food and liquor at.
Okay.
Your
No,
Honor-
no, don't answer. Don't answer. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. How many people did you have at your home for dinner?
I would say 50 people there.
50 people. And of the 50 people, how many people were from the groom's side?
I would say roughly.
Not roughly.
Some people I didn't know. I mean, they were friends and out of town. I would say probably somewhere around 20 to 25. It was probably about equal amounts.
Okay.
She's, okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
What else did you spend money on?
For the wedding?
Yeah.
Other than dress and personal items?
Yeah.
Nothing, because it was not my wedding. This is my daughter's third wedding, Your Honor.
wedding.
I paid for the first one.
And Stacy and Wayne agreed to pay for this wedding.
My daughter is 35 years of age. This was their wedding. I do not believe that it was my obligation as mother of the bride to pay for a wedding that they did
Then let me
arrangements.
ask you this question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? And I don't necessarily disagree with you, because that's information that was not contained in your complaint, that this was a third marriage for your daughter.
Your Honor.
Excuse
me. Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Just a minute.
Okay.
And that you paid for the first one, maybe paid for the second one, and you weren't going to pay for a third one. You said, wish you good luck, but I'm not paying for the wedding. That's not unreasonable, so.
It's basically how it worked.
And
right.
I had-
Just a minute. That doesn't mean you're going to get your money for carpet cleaning. Let me explain that to you. That's outrageous. It's outrageous because I've had my carpet cleaned a couple of times in my life, and it doesn't cost $450 for materials for carpet cleaning. You know it, and I know it. Mr. Murray, you know what a gallon, a jug, a whole vat of cleaning material costs, and it doesn't cost $450 for carpet cleaning. And even if it did, which it doesn't, it seems to me while you had no out-of-pocket expenses for the wedding, it was a nice gesture if you said, if you're donating your hall, which, by the way, you're going to do.
Okay.
I'm giving you that right now.
That's fine.
If you're donating the hall, at least I want to do something to make it pretty, so I'll come in and clean the carpets. So I've just taken care of your claim. You have no claim.
Okay.
You cleaned the carpets and you picked up $100 worth of food. Big deal. According to you, you had a lot of out-of-town family. I don't know if it's your family, your daughter's family. So even if you made a rehearsal dinner, you decided to do that, and you made it at your house for your out-of-town guests, you knew that they were going to be fed at her establishment because she paid for the food.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, I believe she paid for the food for the wedding.
Your Honor, may I please say something?
You're telling me everybody brought something?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
And I have the list
a
as
friend-
to how it
A
was
friend of
done.
ours that came from North Carolina that does wedding cakes, she made the cake and she brought the cake
How many
down.
people were at this wedding?
I
About
think it was- I think it was-
120
yeah.
people.
120 people. So somebody else made a wedding cake. Big deal. And
No,
if you're telling me this was a potluck wedding where everybody brought a dish to feed 120 people, I'm telling you I don't buy it.
Well, it
Forget it.
wasn't-
You have no claim.
Wasn't
You
enough food
listen to
feed
me.
120
You
people.
have no claim. What I don't understand is why you two people have chosen to interfere with the happiness of your children over what I consider pittance of money. Everybody has problems when they plan a wedding. Everybody has problems when paying for a wedding. The bride's parents are supposed to do this, the groom's parents are supposed to do that. In the case of second or third marriages, perhaps that's different. But it seems to me you have one child, and you want that child to be happy. Both of you have placed a strain on a brand new marriage by fighting with each other. This will never go away. This will never make your children feel better. Put your hand down. I am certain that they have had many hours of discussions, unpleasant discussions. Is that a fair statement? You and your new wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Over this nonsense. Nonsense. Stand up here with your mom. Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Professional painter.
Have you been doing that for a long time?
Right about 8 months now.
Is this your first marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew it was your wife's third marriage?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have children from her first two
Yes,
marriages?
ma'am. 2 girls,
How old are they?
19 and 16.
Are you currently living with your wife?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than this strain that you have any other stress or strain?
Regular life, but this is really a real bad strain.
This is what I'm going to suggest that you do. If your mother wants the money for the rental of the hall, for the band, and for any other incidentals that she may have incurred for this wedding, I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
Your Honor.
Do you understand? I suggest you and your wife pay for it.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Mrs. Murray is the one who demanded all these demands. She's the one that ramrodded the whole affair. She's the one that made all the decisions, not the bride and groom, not myself. She's the one that demanded that I cancel the band. Then she's the one that demanded that I hire a DJ. She's the one that demanded that I rehire another band. She's the one who agreed to pay for the champagne. She's the one who agreed to do all this stuff.
I helped clean
She's
the carpet.
the one, she was so petty
Just a
about
second.
everything, Your
Just
Honor.
a second. Listen to me. I wasn't there. And I believe, just listen to me. You don't have a written agreement with her, do you?
Verbal agreement.
I said you don't have a written agreement
No,
with her,
ma'am,
do
I have
you?
a verbal agreement.
Okay. I believe them when they say that they were not prepared to make a third wedding. I believe them because that's very reasonable. And they were going to use your club, and there weren't going to be a lot of expenses. You have 2 adult children, one of whom has 2 children who are adults themselves. So if you feel as if you have to be reimbursed for the rental of your place and table linens, I suggest you speak to your son and make arrangements to do that. Your case is dismissed as well as your counterclaim. That's all.
On the calendar in the matter of Lane versus Sandicott.
Thank you, Birch.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
The defendant was a former friend and roommate of both of you? Yes. Is that right? And it is your claim first that you sold him a car, that he didn't make all the payments on the car, you repossessed the car, then the police came to your house, arrested you both, and you spent 6 days in jail.
Yes.
And you want the money for the car, because I assume he has the car back?
Yes.
Next cause of action is you claim that he stole certain property.
Yes.
The defendant says that he actually owed you very little on the car because he did some work for you, and he's got a counterclaim for value of a computer, software, lost wages, and a whole bunch of pain and suffering. When did you sell him the car and for how much?
On June 25th of 2001, and we sold him, the original selling price was for $800. He gave us $400 in computer parts and $100 in cash.
So he owed you $300 for
Yes,
the car.
ma'am.
Go ahead.
Then we agreed to finish paying for the rest of the car in 1 week. A month later, we came to Jeff and we asked him, can he, finish paying for the car? And if he wasn't going to finish paying for the car, we were going to repossess it, and he wasn't going to get reimbursed for the amount he already paid. Another month and a half after that came and went, and we came to Jeff again, and we told him, you broke the agreement that we had, and now we want to repossess it. Jeff then stated that the car was broken, that it wasn't even drivable. We said, fine, we're going to go fix the car and take it home. And that's when we went to go, and the car wasn't even broken, Your Honor. It had nothing wrong with it. We drove the car home, and the next morning, the police came because Jeff called the police and told him that we stole his car.
Was the car titled in your name at that point, sir?
No.
It was not?
No.
In whose name was the car titled?
I believe it was in the people they had bought it from. It had never been turned over into their name either because we were going to turn it straight into my name.
So you didn't have the title to the car?
Right.
And you didn't have a title to the car in your name?
I do have a bill of sale and the title that is listed for my wife's name on the title, Your Honor.
Let me see it. So you only had this car a couple of weeks before you sold it to him?
Yes, ma'am.
And you bought the car for $400?
Yes, ma'am.
You sold it to him for $800.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a pretty good profit
Yes.
from your friend, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
But when the police came to the house, Your Honor, they refused to look at any of the legal documents stating that the car was ours, and they threw us in jail. Me and my wife both spent 6 days in jail.
Why did you spend 6 days in jail?
Because Jeff had this thing against us.
What thing did he have against you?
About possession of stolen property for the car.
Well, I understand that, but didn't a lawyer come to see you while you were in jail?
No, Your Honor.
What state do you live in?
Washington.
Washington State?
Yes, ma'am.
Mark that off my list of places to visit.
You got it.
Yes.
Was this the first time you were arrested?
For this matter? No. No, ma'am. What happens is when you get arrested, right, you go in for arraignment the next day, and then you plead not guilty. And then they give you another court date a week after that, and then you go in and you plead not guilty
Yeah, but
again.
even on your... No. I mean, most civilized jurisdictions, before you go and appear before a judge, you're given a lawyer, and you say to the lawyer, look, I have the bill of sale. Please show that to a judge. That would happen on the very next day, unless they were detaining you on some other matter. Now, were you being detained on some other matter? Don't look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language, all right? You were being detained on another matter.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was me.
Perfect. Because what you have just described to me might happen in Afghanistan, but doesn't happen in the United States of America. Were you being held on a warrant?
Yes.
Perfect.
Does this mean Washington's back on your list?
Washington's back on my list. Thank you, Bill. All right, so let's get rid of any pain and suffering that you had as a result of this 6-day incarceration. It wasn't 6 days incarceration on this. They just happened to find you because of this. Okay. You have the car. You owe him $300 for the car.
I actually owe him $260.
So why didn't you pay him?
I just honestly didn't have the money, but
So why didn't you give him back the car? And they would have given you back the software, given you back your $100.
up until this point we were friends, and they had another vehicle. So there was no real reason to. I was paying him in small payments. Actually, before they came and stole the car, I gave him $40 like 2 weeks before this happened.
Is that right?
That was on past bills, Your Honor. Bills because he didn't, on the last month that he lived with us, he didn't finish paying for his electric bill or his phone bill. And so we took this money for that.
No, that's not what I'm asking you, whether you took the money for that. Did he say, when he handed you the $40, did he say to you, this is for car payment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, then you don't say, well, I'm not accepting this as a car payment. I'm going to put it towards your last month's bills. If he made the payment for the car, then he only owes you $260 for the car. So you agree you owe him $260 for the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about what you claim he stole. You say he stole property.
Yes, Your Honor. On when we were released from jail, we got evicted from our apartment, and my mother, Pauline Hall, she had packed my things. And when I was released from jail, I went through my stuff and I noticed items missing. One being $200 worth of movie tickets, one being a basketball, and computer paper.
So?
And when I went and asked my mother, I said, did you remember packing this stuff? And she told me yes, she did remember packing this stuff, plus she remembered seeing Jeff going through the things
Are you
after.
the mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up, please. What is your last name?
Hall, H-A-L-O.
You saw him take property?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see him take? And when?
Okay, I asked him to move from my home because at this time he was living in my home.
You mean the defendant?
Yes, Jeff.
Yes.
And so I went to Jerry and Olga's apartment, and I was packing their things and bringing them into my garage as Jeff was moving his things out of my home. He was taking tables and chairs and basketballs and going through boxes. He had taken some food, that all of these things he said was his. Well, my daughter Janet told me not to let him do these things. And I said, I'm very tired. I just want to get these kids moved out of their apartment, and Jerry can deal with him on this matter later. About a week after this happened, Jeff and I had a phone conversation because Jeff had taken some things from my home that I wanted back. And he told me that he put $300 for the money that he had owed on the car in Jerry and Olga's checkings account. And I said, Jeff, that's a lie because they don't even have a checkings account. We closed that out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerry and Olga Lane say former friend Jeff Sandercock owes for the cost of a car and stolen property. Jeff says the Lanes crossed the line when they tried to repossess the car.
Did you take a basketball that belongs to him?
I honestly don't know. I moved a lot of stuff in that 2 days.
Do you have a basketball that doesn't belong to you at home?
I don't think so, no.
How much was the basketball?
It was probably about worth $20, Your Honor.
You more than made that up on the car. Sit down. So far, you owe him $260. Now, you want to tell me about your counterclaim? Take a deep breath. I'm ready.
Well, first of all, I had given him $500 worth of computer stuff. And it was a computer and a fax machine, printer, scanner.
Whatever, it was towards the car.
Yeah, it was just...
That was towards the car.
A ton of
I
stuff.
gave you credit for that, so we don't do double dipping here.
Right. But the reason why they took the car was because they had come over to the house when I was living with Pauline, and they had made mention of fleeing to Canada because his wife is an illegal immigrant. And they were thinking she was going to be deported for the electronic fraud that she had gone to jail for. So that's when they came and stole the car. And
I asked you a question. I'm on your counterclaim. Do you understand? You still owe $260 on the car. You agreed to pay $800. You didn't pay $800. You owe $260. You have a counterclaim. You say they took property. They owe you for computers, software, lost wages, and a whole bunch of pain and suffering. I'm waiting.
the software he had dropped about a week before this had happened. It was just a CD that I lent him, and he dropped it on the ground, and it scratched, and he said he was going to pay me for it. It was $80.
Next.
The day he stole the car, I was supposed to be at two clients' place, you know, because I work for myself, and I couldn't get there, so I had to call and I had to cancel. So
All right. Cry me a tear. Go ahead. What's next?
that was it. That was.
And that's your pain.
Right.
And you're suffering.
I had to call, and I had to, you know, my name is on it. That's what they pay me for, is being dependable, and I couldn't be there.
Should have been there.
I couldn't. I didn't have a car. It was being stolen.
Call a cab. Call a taxi. Taxi. Or walk. You don't get paid for that. He owes you $260 for the car. Period.
Your Honor, about the matter about him losing wages, he was not in possession of the car.
Just 1 second. Listen to me carefully. I just dismissed it. I would like to dismiss him. He has no cause of action. He has no claim. Anything else you want to tell me?
Yes.
What?
First of all, I'm a legal resident. I'm not illegal resident of the United States. Then when he moved in with us, to live with us, I paid a deposit. He didn't pay his part. When he paid last money for the car, I said, this is for last bills. It's not for the car. This is for last bills.
Listen to me. You had the car for 2 weeks. You didn't even transfer the title to the car in your name, and you made a $100 profit. That is a 20% profit. Is that right? 20% profit on what you, 25% profit on what you paid in 2 weeks. People could get that in the stock market these days. They would be very happy. Stop complaining. Goodbye.
Now he's not excused. You may step out.
The computer was worth way more than $500, you know, for all the hardware and stuff.
Numerous times we came to Jeff and said, hey, you know, for us to resume our our friendship, he needs to continue to pay for the car.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morrison versus McKinney. Step forward, please.
31-year-old office manager Carla Morrison is suing her former friend, 27-year-old retail salesperson Corey McKinney, for an unpaid cell phone bill. Corey has a countersuit claiming Carla vandalized his car.
Miss Morrison, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends, and there came a time when each of you wanted a cell phone. I know what happened with an uncle of yours. He agreed to get the cell phones for you, but the defendant's agreement with you was that he would pay his portion of the cell phone bill.
That is correct.
You claimed that he ran up a substantial bill on the cell phone, which he has not paid.
That is correct.
Now, the defendant, I read your answer, sir. You don't seem to dispute the fact that you ran up a substantial phone bill.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how much was the phone bill that he ran up?
His cost came up to $1,000.
Can I see that, please? Over how many months did his bill run to accumulate this $1,000 total?
We initially got our phones in January. I believe I had Corey's phone disconnected towards the end of April, the beginning of May.
4 months.
Right, but his calls ran into like June and July.
Okay, so the bills are really in his name. This says total Nextel charges for Corey, right? On the bill it says for Corey.
I've never seen the bill.
Well, we'll show it to you. Actually, it's $1,007.37.
Correct.
Because you had a phone that allowed you to make as many local calls as you wanted, but not long-distance calls?
Right. Corey's charges are more long distance than anything.
Corey, who do you talk to so much, sir?
I talk to people everywhere.
Where are most of your
I
friends?
was out of town then. I was out of town then.
You were out of town?
Yeah. And I was calling back.
Your defense to this action is that you did spend the money on jabbering away long distance, but that the plaintiff did damage to your car.
Yeah.
And the damage to your car is more than your long distance calls, right? That's your defense.
Yes.
So, show me. What kind of damage did she do to your car?
Cut my tires and put sugar in my tank.
Did you witness her doing that?
No,
Have a look
but
at me.
my witness, I have a witness here.
So the answer is you did not witness her
No.
doing that. But you have a witness who I'm
Yes.
prepared to hear. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
Anthony McKinney.
Are you related?
Yeah, I'm his brother.
Now tell me what you observed on May 7th.
I was coming home from out playing basketball, and I seen her truck over there at the house when I was walking in the house. I really didn't see her really do it, but next morning I got up and he was outside going crazy. And I was like, went over to see what was wrong. He said somebody had put sugar in my tank and cut the tires. I said, well, last night when I was coming home, I seen her over there and had left the house. But I really didn't pay any attention to it because they were seeing each other off and on at the time, considering the phone bills and everything. So I
Sir,
really-
did you see her on May 7th?
I seen her the day before,
On May 6th?
May 7th. That day.
Where did you see her?
She came over to the house.
To visit with you?
Yes. He said he seen her that night.
Sit down. Sit down, sir. Well, tell me about the conversation that you had with her on May 7th.
She saw about the phone bill.
And what did you say to her about the
I
phone
told her I
bill?
wasn't going to pay the bill.
Did you tell her why?
But she had the phone turned off. I didn't even use it.
Well, she
I
had
never
the
did
phone-
see the bill. She never showed me the bill.
Now I'll hear you. You went over to his house on May the 7th?
I don't recall. I have talked to Corey numerous times on the phone, over our 2A radio pertaining to the bill. Corey has seen our Nextel bills. He left to go out of town. His thing was, I'll take care of it when I come back from Texas. Don't worry about it. Don't trip, Carla. You know, I'm not going to leave you out there like that. I'm going to pay the bill. I don't recall being at Corey's house on May 7th. It's a possibility, because I was at Corey's house plenty of times.
Did you slash his tires?
Of course not.
Did you put sugar in his gas tank?
Of course not. And me and Corey talked about this. He brought the damages up that I did to his car when I called him and asked him when was he going to pay his bill. And he said, I'm not. You had my phone shut off. I said, well, yeah, Corey, because the bill is at $1,300. He even called me when he was in Texas to say that I slashed his girlfriend's tires on her car as well. It's like, you know, Corey, I don't have time for this. I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have time to drive around town to look and vandalize Corey's vehicle.
Now, these phones, the bills were actually in your uncle's name?
The bill is in my uncle's name, but we are the sole responsible party.
I understand that, but the bills are in your uncle's name. If they were to sue somebody, they were going to sue your uncle.
Right.
Right? And your uncle knew that he was behind in the bills.
Right. He knew that he wasn't paying them.
But he wasn't paying them.
So where's our
There
uncle?
were other people, sir, who had a motive to do nasties to your car, right?
Correct.
Those are only people that I know. Anybody else not like you, sir?
No.
You sure about that? Okay. You have
Where's our uncle at?
You have it, what?
Where's our uncle at? Shouldn't he be here?
No, why?
He signed for the phones.
So what? She's responsible because she promised her uncle that, despite the fact that the uncle signed for the phones, the two of you were going to be responsible. Duh. You still have the same girlfriend that you had in May?
No.
When did you break up with the May girlfriend?
In June.
In June? Well, June's pretty close to May. Had you been fighting with your girlfriend?
No.
You mean it just came on all of a sudden that you broke up with her?
Yeah. But this
There
happened
may
in-
be somebody else that didn't like you.
It happened in May.
And when were her
We was
tires?
on good terms then.
You were on really good terms.
Good terms.
Oh, good terms. Well, Mr. McKinney, we may never find out who put sugar in your tank, sir. But we sure know who made all these phone calls. That was you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $1,007.37. That's all.
Parties are case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Medrano versus Reynoso.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Medrano, according to the complaint that I have read, the defendant was your girlfriend. You were together for about a year and a half, and you have a child together. Is that right?
That's accurate.
How old is your child?
He's 3.
You claim that you made a series of small loans to the defendant, and in addition, she owes you for a VCR and television set or something that you put on your credit card. There was an agreement for her to pay you back. She paid you some, didn't pay the rest. You want the rest. The entire sum that she owes you, according to you, is $500. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant has a counterclaim, which I quite frankly don't understand. You'll explain it to me. All right, so tell me about these loans, sir. When did you make them and what were they for?
Well, there was $189 that was towards a trip to Florida that I had given her in cash. There was another $150 that fixed the car. There was something wrong with the brakes. And there was another $150 that she didn't pay me, refused to pay me for the TV and VCR that I had purchased for her on my credit card.
Oh. 189 trip to Florida. When was that?
That was approximately in July of last year.
Tell me about that.
Well, she said she wanted to go to Florida.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a joint checking account?
No.
You kept your money separate?
Definitely.
Who paid the rent?
She did.
Whose apartment was it?
It was hers.
Was it furnished when you moved in?
Yes, Your Honor.
So it was her furniture?
Yes.
Who paid the gas and electric?
Yes.
Who?
She did.
What did you pay for?
Well, different things such as the car and expenses, different things.
Well, so far I got the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically the car, Your Honor, to tell you the truth. I maintained it and things like that.
Who bought the car?
It was her car.
You paid for the gas?
Mm-hmm.
You paid for the insurance?
No.
She paid for the insurance?
Yes.
So you paid for the gas. What else did you pay for?
There were repairs on the...
Well, the repairs, sir, you wanted to pay you back for $150. That was the second loan that you say you made to her.
There was more than one repair. Obviously, a car, you know, needs repairs.
Oh, that was your capital
maintenance.
contribution, taking care of the car, is that right? To this household?
Yes.
Perfect. Take care of it. So I just knocked out your car repair loan. So let me hear about the trip to Florida. She wanted to go to Florida, and?
And she spoke to me about it, and...
What did she say to you, and what did you say to her?
She said, well, I want to go to Florida, and I think that you should pay for it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, fine, that's great.
Great. So we just knock off the trip to Florida.
Yeah.
And I think you should pay for it, too.
That's great, but,
Good.
you know...
Okay, that's great. Wonderful. Perfect. Now, $150 was for what?
Was for
VCR.
the television VCR.
And how much was the whole television VCR?
$439. However, we agreed that she would give me $500.
Why is that?
That's what she agreed. I didn't ask her for it. She...
So she agreed to give you a tip of
if you want to say that, yeah, if you'd like to say
that. A tip of $60. Okay. How much is left to pay on the TV VCR?
Approximately $150.
Show me. You kept the VCR, Miss Reynoso, is that right?
Yes.
And the TV?
Yes.
We'll get to you in a second. Oh. And you made some payments on this, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Tell me, how come you stopped paying?
Well, he has a court order to pay me child support, which he hasn't done in a year.
Inaccurate.
When did you start paying child support, sir?
She had it on ever since I could remember, to be honest with you.
What do you mean, ever since?
Since the 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, about 3 years.
You mean while you were living together, you were paying child support?
I was trying to, because I just graduated school and everything. Well,
I don't care trying. I want to know when you started to pay child support, sir.
I can't give you an exact date, Your Honor.
How much child support do you pay?
It's $60 a week, and I was paying that in sporadic payments because I was also paying for school.
So is it fair to say that you didn't make all your child support payments?
Yes.
Was it fair to say that, let's say you missed 3 payments?
More than that, Your Honor.
More than that?
Yes.
At least $150 worth of payments?
Yes. But the entire thing was, I was going to take the money and send it back to her. So she would receive the money, and it would bring down the arrears that I'm currently in.
When were you going to do that?
When I received the money.
And where were you going to get the money from?
From her.
For what?
For the $150 that she owed me. And
get a life. I have no idea what precipitated your bringing this lawsuit, sir. No idea at all. Somebody that owes a substantial amount of money in child support doesn't futz around with $150 that's owed on a TV VCR. You know, you'd find a rock to crawl under someplace, but you don't come out in the open and go into a court to sue for $150 to fix a car that was your sole responsibility while you lived together, $189 for a Florida trip that was clearly a gift when you made it to her.
She spent with her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, I should say.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fernando Medrano says the mother of his child, Florangel Reynoso, owes for a series of loans. Florangel says Fernando hasn't paid child support in over a year.
All right. And Ms. Reynoso, I'm going to hear about your counterclaim now. What's your counterclaim for?
$2,400.
For what?
When we were living together, we made an agreement that we were going to get new furniture. So I had asked him if it was a good time. My cousin wanted to buy the furniture off me, and if it was a good time to sell it to her. And I asked him quite a few times, and I said, "Are you sure you're going to get me new furniture?" And he said yes. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. That never happened. He left in August, and my living room was empty. I had no furniture.
Get it back from your cousin. What else?
Then I asked him a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to get his son a bed because he's getting too big for the crib, and he refused.
So that's not a lawsuit. You asked him to get a bed. He said no. That's not a lawsuit. What's next?
And that was it. And just clothes that I bought for Jaden since he doesn't help me in anything. But that was it.
Okay, so you know that that's all nonsense. Perfect. So I don't even have to address the fact that your counterclaim is nonsense. And I don't have to address the fact that your claim is nonsense. So your claim is nonsense, you get nothing, you get nothing. What you do get from me is a lecture. How old are you?
29.
And you?
23.
You have one child?
Yes.
How many children do you have?
Just one.
What kind of work do you do?
Substitute teacher.
Do you have a permanent teaching license?
No, that's not my field.
What's your field?
Criminal justice.
Shh. What do you want to do with a criminal justice degree?
I'm interested in going to law school. However, that's not in my reach, in my grasp right now. Trying to get finances together.
Who do you live with now?
I live with my mother.
No, you don't. Not all the time. I say that because there was a slight pause in your answer. I live with my mother. People who live with their mother say, I live at home. Is that your friend?
Long-time friend.
Good. Even he knows you don't live with your mother. Mr. Medrano, you make a baby, you have to support that child.
I agree.
And you can't say, I have things to pay for, I have school, I have other things. If you're a substitute teacher, that means when you're not substitute teaching, you have time. You can do a lot of things. You drive a taxi cab, you drive a livery, you do something to make money.
That's not what I graduated college for.
Oh, sir, I understand that. People do things that they don't necessarily enjoy doing and that they're not necessarily trained to do or aspire to do in the future when they have responsibilities. You created a responsibility, and if no other family court judge has said this to you directly, I'm going to tell you that it is unfair and irresponsible and long-term is going to be the worst mistake you ever made by not treating the responsibility two of you created as the most important responsibility you have right now. I have worked a lot of jobs that I wasn't trained to do because I had a family to take care of. My husband, for sure, did a lot of jobs because he had children to take care of. Part-time, nights, weekends. Because when you make children, it's your responsibility to see to it that they want for nothing. So grow up and get your act together. Your claim is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Her suit was frivolous.
I thought the whole thing was ridiculous and we could have settled it at home.
People do anything, you know, to try to make you look bad and try to get money that they don't really deserve.
People should be responsible, and it's true, when they bring a kid into this world, they should take care of him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fulcher versus Shaw. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Sarah Fulcher is suing her former friend, 20-year-old student Catherine Shaw, for the cost to repair her truck. Sarah says Catherine drove the vehicle without permission.
Miss Fulcher, you go to college?
Yes, Your Honor.
Which school do you go to?
Tulane University.
And you?
Tulane University.
According to your complaint, you decided to park your car at the defendant's house.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your arrangement, according to you, was that when you needed the car, you would come by and pick it up, and that there were occasions when she drove your car. And on one occasion, she drove your car, she had an accident, and you want her to pay for the damage to the car.
Yes, Your
Case is about, the defendant says you should use your insurance. So when did you start to park your car at her house?
I had previously lived at that residence, and I'd started parking there in October of 2000. I continued parking my car there when I moved, and
When did you move?
I moved in January of 2001.
And your discussion with the defendant when you decided to leave your car there was what?
There was not too much of a discussion. It was a public parking on the street.
I see. So it was just in front of her house?
Yes.
Is that right?
Not exactly. She also gave me the keys to her car, and she allowed me to run small errands.
Did you have a car yourself?
No.
Okay. When was the accident?
The accident was February 19th.
Tell me what happened on the 19th of February.
On the 19th, I was running an errand, and I was
time?
Around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was making a left turn, and as I was turning, a woman in a black car hit me, and she got out of the car, and she was hysterical, and then she was screaming about how her mother was a police officer and that she was going to go get her, and she got in the car, and I never saw her again.
Okay. So you were making a left turn, and somebody who was coming from the other direction who had the right of way
No,
hit you.
someone that was behind me hit me.
In the rear?
Yes.
So the car was hit in the rear?
Well, it was in the side because I was turning, and it hit the back side of the car.
So you called her and told her that you had had an accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Take it from there. What did you discuss about the damage?
At the time of the accident, I was in my room studying for a midterm, and I had no idea that she'd taken my car that morning. I had not given her permission to take my car. I received a phone call, and I advised her to call and file an accident report. And at the time, she discussed that a woman had hit her and that she had driven off after the accident, so it was a hit and run, basically. I then talked to Kathy about payment, and Kathy had said that, you know, it was her fault, you know, she was the one driving, she would pay for the damages. And
did you say that to her?
No, ma'am, I did not. I said, see what the cost is, you know, I'll see what I can do. I never agreed to pay for anything.
Why not?
Because I wasn't sure about my rights, and I told her that I would speak with my parents, and my parents told me to talk to a lawyer before I said anything.
Is that what happened?
No, Your Honor. This was in February, and she'd told me she would pay, and I'd given her 3 months. I did not take the truck to a body shop until May because she was saving up money to pay for the damages for my truck. And so I've been very
lenient. Is that what
lenient
she
with
said
it.
to you?
She said, I don't have the money right now, I need more time. So I assumed that she was saving up money for the damages. In early May, I took the truck to a body shop, but at this time, she had not spoken with her parents yet. She was just going to pay and not tell her parents about it. And it was just going to be between us because it was our issue. And Kathy kind of avoided the situation, and I told her that my mom might want to talk to her mother about the situation to see if we can work anything out, and that my mom would like to speak to Kathy about a payment plan. My parents were willing to help her out with that, and she could pay like a monthly payment of $100 a month. They never got to discuss this with her, though, because I got a call from her saying that she has a lawyer now and she can't talk to me, which ruined the friendship, basically, too, since we're not allowed to speak.
So let me understand this. When you spoke initially to the defendant after the accident, it is your testimony that she said to you, in sum and substance, that she would take care of it, but she needs a little more time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Shaw, if I understand you correctly, you did discuss payment of the damage for the car when you initially, just pay attention, when you initially spoke to the plaintiff, there was a discussion about paying for the damage.
Yes, there was.
You at least intimated to her that let's see how much the damage is, and sometime later indicated that you don't have the money right now. That be a fair statement?
Somewhat fair. I told her from the beginning that I did not have the money, and I never said that I was saving up.
But you intimated that to her, because if you say, I don't have the money, and that's it, and I'm not paying you, then she has other options. Maybe insurance company, maybe just have the car fixed and sue you at that point. But if you said, I don't have the money, and added right now, but I'm going to be working and saving it, and I'll take care of it, that would lend some credibility to her testimony that she waited to have the car fixed because she was waiting for you to come up with the money.
No, Your Honor. When I told her that I did not have the money, this was when I believed that it was going to go under the insurance. But then after a while, I was told that her parents didn't want to put it on the insurance because they didn't want their rates to go up. And that's when I said, I cannot pay for this. This is not happening, and I got a lawyer.
Well, just a minute. Do you think that that's unfair, Ms. Shaw?
Well, when she allowed me to drive the car, she knew the risks.
So did you?
Yes, Your Honor.
You mean only she knew the risks?
I assumed that it would go through insurance.
You never even thought about it. Ms. Shaw, if this accident for which you were responsible went on her family's policy, there is no question that their rates would go up substantially, and not just for a year. Let me see the estimate for the truck.
The estimate does detail the exact panels that were damaged.
Which panels were they?
The front panel with the door, the bottom corner was pulled under. The long back panel extending over the wheelbase and holding the gas tank was also damaged, and it was bent under to where the fuel tank was actually hanging kind of loose because the bracket was damaged.
Well, that would indicate that you were making a left turn and you weren't in the left lane.
There was only one lane on the street, and they hit me from behind.
They can't hit you from behind on the side of your car.
It was a wide street that we were driving.
So you were making a left turn from a wide street, but you were probably over on the right-hand side because somebody didn't hit you from the rear. They hit the side of the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
This wasn't a rear-end hit. And also, Ms. Shaw, you have an obligation. This woman had absolutely no right to take off without exchanging information, but you should have been aware enough if somebody hit you and it's their fault and they stopped the car. You get out of the car, you look at their car, you look at the license plate, you describe the person who was driving the car. You know, you take all that into consideration. You didn't get all of that information because had you gotten that information, we wouldn't be here today, because if your story is accurate, it was the lady's fault and her insurance company would pay for the damage.
The only information that I didn't get was the license plate because she drove off too quickly.
That's your fault that you didn't get the license plate number. Get back in your car and follow her till you get the license plate number. So there are all kinds of scenarios that you could have done to prevent her from suffering any damage because of something you did. That's taking responsibility for your actions. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,829.08. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may strange. Thank you. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
You two ladies, according to this complaint that I've read, were very good friends, and you were getting married. You asked the plaintiff to be your matron of honor at the wedding. She agreed. She purchased a dress, which she paid for. There was some sort of a disagreement. You were uninvited to the wedding and uninvited to be part of the bridal party. You want to be reimbursed for the dress, as well as, according to you, a lot of mental anguish, which we'll get to in a minute. The defendant has a cross-complaint for some sort of an assault and undermining some guests' appearance at the wedding. She said that you convinced some people not to come to the wedding, and she's got a lot of mental anguish, too. She's also countersuing for an assault. Okay, very sad. How long had you been friends?
8 years.
When was the wedding planned?
September 14th of this year.
Okay, so now tell me what happened.
Okay, on September 8th, it was on a Saturday, Lori and I and a few of our friends decided to go out. It was a week before her wedding. Lori didn't want anything big because at the time her father was sick, so she didn't know if she had to cancel or not, so she did, you know, she didn't want anything big.
You mean like a bachelorette party?
Yes. So we had decided to go to a pizza place, San Fratello's. At San Fratello's, we waited for about an hour. We were downstairs talking. Then they came up and they got us to sit at our table. And while we were sitting there, they were just talking about things they had did the night before. Now the night
Who was talking about?
It was Lori and the girls who were sitting at the table, the people standing up in the wedding. Now, I was...
Other members of the wedding party?
Yes, her family, okay? I have a letter from Lori.
Tell me letter. So what happened? So they were talking about something that they had done the evening before.
Right. They were altering dresses, they were doing party favors, and they were making seating arrangements. All of that I was excluded from, okay? Didn't understand. So they're talking about how they had a good night that Friday night, blah, 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 this. And I asked Lori, when did you plan on telling me about this, Lori? And I can't remember quoted words, but it was basically, you know, it was no big deal, blah, 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 this, and she went downstairs in the bathroom. I therefore followed her. We were both upset. Lori and I were talking. She said it was nothing to hurt my feelings. She wanted to have a family get-together. And I told her, you know, that it hurt my feelings. I was hurt. She started telling me there was a bunch of her family members that did not like me, okay, and...
So, something happened in the bathroom, according to her.
Yes, we got in an argument. It wasn't an argument, it was just basically our sides of the story, you know.
But according to you, nothing physical took place there?
No, nothing at all. She was in the bathroom stall.
Okay, so nothing physical took place, according to you. Did you spend the rest of the evening together?
Yes, we did.
When did she uninvite you to the wedding?
I came home on a Wednesday, September 12th, and after work I went in my mailbox and there was a letter in there from Lori, and I read the letter, and she uninvited me.
Okay. How much did you spend on the wedding?
$115 for the dress, and that was it.
Well, then tell me why you're suing her for
I am
$115
suing
for the
her-
dress, $885.
Okay, I am suing her $115.50 for the dress.
Right.
Okay, I am suing her for my lost wages because I took off of work that day.
Which day?
Friday, the day of the wedding, September 14th.
Yes.
Okay. I am suing for my husband's lost wages because he also took off of work. And I am suing for $500 mental distress because what she did was hurt me, and she didn't just hurt me, she hurt a lot of other people.
You don't get paid for that, Ms. Pennington. You don't get paid for hurt feelings. And you don't get paid for your husband's lost wages. If he wanted to go to work, he would have gone to work. And you don't get paid for your lost wages. You change your mind, you want to go to work, you go to work. Your dress cost $115.50. Okay. Now, let's hear your side of the story. Tell me first, because I read your answer. What happened in the bathroom?
When we were in the bathroom, I had walked away from the table, went down to the bathroom, and actually I was doing my business in the bathroom when she swung open the door. So, of course, I had to get up and, you know, put my clothes on and everything, you know. And I tried to get out of the bathroom. She pushed me. And she did it twice because I kept trying to get out of the bathroom. And as I was trying to get out of the bathroom, Tammy was in there trying to tell her to let me go. She's like trying to calm her down. My girlfriend Lisa was in the washroom also, and the waitress and the owner were. She grabbed my arm, and as I kept trying to get out, she would swing me back twice. I finally got out of the bathroom. I mean, and during all that, she even told the restaurant owner to F off. You know, and it was just, I finally got out. Then the police came.
Were you injured?
Huh?
Were you injured?
No.
Okay. So if one is not injured, then you don't get compensated for injuries if you're not injured.
Correct.
You had an argument with your girlfriend. She pushed you. So what is your countersuit about?
My countersuit is about the people that did not show up for the wedding.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, there was 23 people that I had invited to my wedding that I have been friends with because of her. When we met, they were all, you know, it was the group of people we hung around with. I invited them and her family that I was very close to. None of them showed, not one. And, you know, I lost all that money from the wedding, of course. You know, it was a tough decision for me to make this. I mean, if you're good friends, you don't push somebody, you don't grab them.
You also don't tell them that they're not invited to a wedding.
Miss Pennington.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Speak not. Go ahead.
And I feel that, you know, because of that, it was not my fault. She did not have to be that vulgar. She did not have to do that in the bathroom. She could have called me.
Listen, there's no question. You had an argument in the bathroom. What makes you think that everything is worth a lawsuit?
It's not.
It's not. You're absolutely right. So the argument is not worth a counterclaim. And if I understand your part about the guests, what you're saying is she convinced certain guests not to attend the wedding because she wasn't going?
Well, they probably didn't go because she wasn't going to be in it, so they figure, why
I had
go?
no control over that.
Just a second.
I mean...
Hey, first of all, she's anticipating what I'm saying, and it's irritating to me. Don't anticipate what I'm going to say.
Cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber Pennington says after an argument with former friend Laurie Strange, she was uninvited to Laurie's wedding. Amber is suing for the cost of her bridesmaid's dress.
Miss Strange, she's absolutely right. She has no control over these people. If she said to them, I would prefer that you not attend the wedding because she hurt my feelings, they had the option of saying, I'm crazy about Laurie, and I'm going to the wedding anyway. So she has no control over whether they go or not. So you have no counterclaim. Why don't you think that you're responsible for her dress?
Why don't I?
Yeah.
For one, she left it at my house. She came to try it on there, didn't even take it. She said she didn't want it altered. And then she called me when she got the letter saying she wanted her dress back. Well, come and get it. I mean, I'm not going to deliver it to you,
Your Honor,
after everything that happened.
You don't understand.
Okay.
You were supposed to be matron of honor?
Yes, ma'am.
It has been my experience, my vast experience, that bridesmaids' dresses, and these dresses were made or ordered specifically for the bridesmaids and matron of honor, they're usually the ugliest suckers around. I don't know a living soul who has ever put on one of those dresses again. They buy them, they never look right, they always, you know, look like prom dresses spruced up. So she has absolutely no use for this dress. So what I'm asking you is, whether she had it altered or not, she was intending to be part of your wedding. At the last minute, once the dress was purchased, you told her that you didn't want her to be in the wedding. You had an argument. I mean, it's the kind of argument that probably should have been resolved. She had hurt feelings because she felt she was excluded from a party that you had before. It may not have been a party, it may just have been a family get-together, but she was very honest with you about her feelings. You may have been a little overly sensitive and a little immature. If some of her family got together the night before and you weren't invited, so what? Why would you want to do anything to spoil her wedding if she was your good friend?
It had nothing to do with spoiling her wedding. It had to be included in her wedding.
It had to do with spoiling her wedding.
It did not.
Miss Pennington, I'm going to try one more time. What you're supposed to say if she's your good friend is, it's not about me. You have to repeat that mantra. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about me. This is her day. It's all about her. And if my feelings were hurt, if I were a mature adult, I would have waited until perhaps a week or so after the wedding, maybe when they got back from their honeymoon, if they went on one and said, I just want to tell you, my feelings were really hurt that I wasn't invited the night before when you had some people over, because I thought we were really good friends. That's what a mature adult does. A spoiled, self-centered person, however, 2 days before or 3 days before a wedding, to create a scene and a fuss to diminish the joy of the wedding, is just that, a selfish, self-centered person. That's you. But you happen to be a selfish, self-centered person who was entitled to her $115.50 back, because she did, in fact, say, you're not welcome at the wedding. You had a loss. You're entitled to that loss. Not all the other things that you're suing for. Your lost wages, your husband's lost wages, your pain and suffering, your break. And Miss Strange, you are not assaulted in the bathroom. You had a fight with your girlfriend in the bathroom. That does not rise to the level of an assault. And the fact that some guests decided not to show up because she had been uninvited also does not create a cause of action. So your counterclaim is dismissed. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $115.50. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Never in my mind would I think something like this would happen.
It wasn't upsetting, it was very hurtful.
I can finally say this is over, it's done with.
I lost a very good friend.
I can go on with my life now.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Mazzaros, step forward, please.
20-year-old food server Jennifer Brown is suing former friend, 23-year-old student Bridget Mazzaros for unpaid babysitting fees. Bridget claims Jennifer was negligent and is countersuing for the money she's already paid.
Ms. Brown, you are suing the defendant for daycare services that you provided for her children. She has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is she wants you to pay her back the money that she did in fact pay you because she said you didn't do a good job. That's part of your counterclaim, yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Then she's got some claim with regard to her son being injured while in your care, and then she's got a claim that has something to do with cats. So we'll take that in a minute. When did you start to babysit for her?
I started babysitting on September 1st, 2000.
And how many months did you babysit for her?
I babysat for 5 months.
What was the financial arrangement?
I was getting paid $612 a month.
And according to your complaint, the defendant was getting that money from the state?
Yes.
For daycare services?
Yes.
And the check that she received from the state was how much?
$612.
So far, is that correct?
Yes.
Then there came a time after 2 months, you said, that she stopped paying you.
Yes.
What happened to the 3 months' pay that she is owed?
Well, actually, she's wrong about when she started daycare. She started in the end of August, the first week of the end of August, because my then
Fine. So we got the end of August.
Partner, I didn't pay her because she didn't do her job, basically.
Why did you fire her?
I tried to fire her. I actually tried to get my sister in to babysit. I tried putting them in daycare.
No. Why didn't you say, don't come here anymore?
Because my ex-boyfriend wouldn't watch my kids. I was in school. I couldn't.
So what does that have to do with her, madam? Is there something wrong with your brain? If you were not happy with her services, then you fire her.
I did complain to her. She wouldn't listen to me. I'd come home, she'd be under the influence of marijuana, and my son got hurt because of her.
Ms. Mazzaros, what were you doing with the checks that you did in fact receive from the state each month for $612? You did in fact receive the checks. Now, what were you doing with her checks?
Well, I didn't give her the money, but I didn't spend it either.
You're a hustler. Ms. Mazzaros, if someone was watching my children, and I was dissatisfied with the quality of the care that was provided, I would not let them near my children.
Well, I didn't have a choice. My ex-boyfriend would let her in the door when I wasn't there or I was
You call
sleeping.
the police and you say to them, I need a restraining order because someone is trespassing in my home.
They won't put a restraining order up unless she does something physical to me or my children. I've tried this before.
The $612 was not meant for you.
I didn't spend it. I sent it back to the government.
I don't believe you. You're a liar. You're a liar. Nobody sends a check back to the government.
You do if you're overpaid.
No, no, no. You did not send a check back to the government.
I didn't spend the money.
You may not have spent it. You may have put it in a bank someplace, but don't try to tell me that you sent your check back and said, I don't want this check.
No, I sent the cash back. I cashed them and I sent them back.
Stop, 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 stop. Hey, behave yourselves.
I'm not lying about that. I'm telling you.
Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. You are lying. Period. Lying.
Okay.
So you know what happens when you lie? I'm not even going to
lying.
entertain your counterclaim.
I'm not lying in this case.
Oh, you are. You are. If you told me that first you signed the check and sent it back to the government with a little note that said, I'm being overpaid, and then you said, no, 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 excuse me, I didn't do that. I cashed the checks and sent the cash back to the government. That's what you just told me.
Yes, and that's what I did. And I phoned daycare more than once and told them not to send anymore because she was not doing her job.
How much do you believe that?
It doesn't ring right.
No, it doesn't ring right. It doesn't ring right because it's not true. On the plaintiff's claim, without any further ado, I am awarding her $1,836. Now, the only thing I'm going to hear from you, I don't want to hear anything about your cats.
Okay.
All I want you to do is tell me about your son being injured that she's responsible for.
Well, on January 23rd, she was taking my sons, Nicholas and Austin, to speech therapy.
Just 1 second. She picked the children up at your house?
Yes, she took them to
Shh, I'm speaking.
Sorry.
Who was at home when she took the children for speech therapy?
I do believe my ex was. I'm not sure I was at school.
Had you seen her at all that day?
Had I seen her? Yes, when she came home that night with the kids.
Prior to her coming home?
No.
Had you seen her the day before?
Yes.
Who advised her of the speech therapy appointments?
I probably did at the time, yes.
Of course you did. This person who you didn't trust with your children, who you didn't pay because she was not taking good care of your children, you told her when the speech therapy appointments were and what time she had to be there. So she was taking the children for their speech therapy appointments at your request.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Pretty much, yeah.
Good. So what happened?
Well, they were on an accident, or they were on a bus, public transit bus, on the way home from speech therapy. She let my younger son, Austin, run to the back by himself, left him back there. The bus got into an accident, rear-ended a car, and he went up in his seat. There was no one to grab him from hitting the seat, and he was injured in the accident.
Show me a medical report.
Here you go. I also have the statement from the accident, if you'd like that as well.
No.
Okay.
Did you retain an attorney?
No, we filed a claim with ICBC. It's the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia.
And what happened with that?
Well, because his father wouldn't take him to the doctor to have him checked out a second time, they won't settle it at all.
What was wrong with him?
He hit his neck and his shoulder and his back on the pole when he went up in the air. And they said that due to him being left alone, even if he does get anything, it'll be a very small amount because he was not being attended to properly.
Oh, baloney.
That's what...
Baloney. Now, if a public bus rear-ends a car and somebody is injured, then they are responsible. If there is an injury. If you're lying and there was no injury, that he got bumped around a little bit, then they're not going to pay anything.
No, they said that once the case has been settled, that he will get $800 or $900, but it will be in trust until he's 18. But
That's
his father
fine.
has to
That's
settle
all
it.
the case is worth. He got bounced around a little bit. If you were not satisfied with the plaintiff's services, you terminate her. You don't kvetch. I'm dismissing your whole counterclaim because I don't like people who come into court and lie. On your claim, I'm awarding you one...
Number 284 on the calendar in the matter of Patton versus Shumway Nair. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Young man, have a seat, please.
Mr. Patton, according to your complaint, the defendant and her 16-year-old son owe you for money as a result of the son's burglarizing of your home on several occasions. Their defense is that they do not deny, the young man does not deny that he entered your home illegally, but that on the date that you say the majority of the damage was done, somebody else did it. Right?
I believe so.
Tell me the first time you noticed that someone had been in your home.
I hadn't moved in yet, but I had the house furnished and was about to move in. And I came to the house one evening to bring some linens from my son's bedroom, and I noticed a police car in front of the defendant's house. And I walked into my house and noticed that there was some damage done.
Tell me about the damage.
I saw some pizza in the carpet. I saw the pizza container in the trash can. A Nestle Toll House cookie container or package was completely consumed and in the trash.
Had you brought these things into the house?
Not the pizza. The cookies I had put in the refrigerator, right.
Okay.
A bottle of Goldschlager was gone, and a half a bottle of vodka. The bed in my bedroom, the linens were all brand new, had all been pulled down and looked like somebody had slept in it. Let me see, 2 towels were missing. My jacuzzi cover was open, and the jacuzzi was running. And I hadn't been there in about a week at this time.
So you had not moved into this home yet. You were in the process of furnishing it.
Correct.
Go ahead.
And I thought, well, I better go outside. There's a police officer outside. I better go out and report this. And before I could get to the police officer, the defendant's younger sister approached me and told me that her brother had shot my windows out with a BB gun. And I hadn't seen that yet. That was on the whole side of the house that faces their house. So then I approached the police officer, and he was there to take the BB gun from the defendant at that time. That's why he was there. And on another case, I guess, I don't know. And he came over to my house, and I talked to him, and they just, talked about arresting him or pressing charges. And the defendant's mother said, if they make restitution, we won't press charges or arrest the defendant. So
the defendant's mother came to you and said that she would make
the same evening, right? The same evening.
Tell me the best that you can recall the extent of the conversation.
Well, the defendant's stepmother or stepfather wanted the son arrested. I guess there's been previous problems, but the mother didn't. She assured me that I'd get the money back for the broken windows and any other damages.
What did he say? Anything?
I've never talked to him. Never have one time.
He was not there?
No, he wasn't.
Did you get an estimate for the windows?
The estimate was $605.
$605. What other damage was there?
About a week after I moved into the house had appeared to have been broken into again. And this time, I noticed I came in the house and the computer was on. We had been out of town, and we came back and the computer was on. I went upstairs to my bedroom, and in my headboard of my bedroom, I keep a pistol locked, and that was broken open. And the bullets were missing, but the gun was still there. The spa cover had been torn with a knife. I checked my telephone, and I hit redial on my phone, and the phone number came up to the defendant's house. At that time, I called the police again, and they came out, and it was the same story. They tried to tell me they weren't in the house this time.
Who's they?
The defendant's mother and the stepfather.
Did you ever get the money for the windows?
Well, they had finally told me that they had the money for it and to go ahead and have it fixed. When we came time to collect, that same day, the stepfather and the mother I guess they separated, and there was no money.
Let's have it.
Some of the accusations that Mr. Patton has are true. I admit to that. I made a bad mistake.
How many times did you enter his house illegally?
3.
Give me the dates.
I don't know the dates. I wasn't.
Well, what did you do the first time you went to his house?
The first time, my sister was playing in the backyard, and she threw a ball accidentally into the backyard. She couldn't get it, so I went over there. And the first time, I was just looking in the windows. Second time, I went over the door, sliding glass door was cracked open. I went in.
And what did you do in the house?
The cookie dough container that was opened, I had that. I ate that.
What about the pizza?
I have, pizza was not me.
Who was it?
I don't know.
Did you ever have anyone else with you in the house?
No, I did not.
Never?
Never.
But you slept in his bed?
No, I did not.
Did you sit in his bed?
No.
What else did you do?
That day, that was it. I just left.
You went into the house a third time?
Yes.
What did you do the third time?
Third time, the towels that he mentioned were missing. I was using those, and I went in his jacuzzi.
And it was just you. What time of the day or evening was this?
It was between 3:30 and 5.
Did you drink any of his alcohol?
No.
Mm. Did you ever make a phone call from his home?
No.
How old is your sister?
The one mentioned is 7 now.
You have another sister?
Yes, she's 12.
Did she ever go in with you into the house?
No.
So you did this all on your own?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Have you ever been arrested before?
Yes.
For what?
Stealing.
Stealing what?
I can't exactly remember. I was around 12.
Stealing from where?
Walmart.
Now, why don't you tell me about shooting out his windows?
That was out of boredom. It's a mistake I made, and I'm sorry.
When the police were called to your house on the day that Mr. Patton says the police were there, they were there he indicates, to remove the BB gun.
Yes.
So there must have been a complaint from someone about you with the BB gun.
Before Mr. Patton was there, I had already been caught, and...
Caught doing what?
I was, my stepdad found me in the jacuzzi, and I admitted that I did break the windows with the BB gun.
So it was your stepfather who called the police?
I don't know who it was.
Who called the police?
I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eddie Patton says next-door neighbor 16-year-old Christopher Shumway broke into his house and vandalized it. Christopher admits to using the jacuzzi and eating cookie dough, but says that's it.
Mr. Patton says he has not been reimbursed for any of the damage. Why not?
Well, he made that agreement between himself and my estranged husband. And when my husband left, he had already told me that he had given the money to Mr. Patton, which apparently was not so. And so when my husband left, so went the money.
Okay, well, it's not your husband's responsibility. This is not his child. This is your responsibility. Other than the $605 for the windows, Mr. Patton, what other damage did your property suffer?
The cleaning of the carpet for the pizza, and then the spa cover, which is going to have to be replaced. I haven't done yet.
How much was that?
$418.
$418.
And 88 cents.
And I beg to differ with these figures.
Why is that?
Because when we had the conversation in his kitchen, he said that the spa cover was no big deal. He knew somebody that could repair that. And the quote on the windows was $325.
You have something on the windows for me, sir?
I have a receipt for that, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please?
Construction company. My brother-in-law works for that company, and he did the labor for free for me. So there's no labor charge on that.
He's never presented us with a receipt.
Well, you can take a look at it. He doesn't have to repair a spa cover. He was moving into a brand new house with brand new sheets, everything nice and neat. The invasion of someone's home by somebody, by a burglar, eating, messing up the place. There isn't a question in my mind that your son did all of that. Not a question. He knows it, and I know it. He may have been with somebody else. If he chooses to keep that a secret, that's totally up to him. But it is far too coincidental to think that someone else would come and do pretty much the same thing as your son did. Take a jacuzzi, not steal anything else from the house, and just come in and generally vandalize it. That's his MO. So you're suing for $1,113.79, and I'm awarding you that judgment. Listen, you're 16 years old. You've already had 2 experiences with the law. This one you got away with because, according to you, you committed no less than 2 acts of burglary. Whether you go into a house and eat cookie dough or steal a diamond necklace, the value of what you steal has absolutely nothing to do with the charge. The charge is still burglary, because the definition of burglary is breaking and entering into the dwelling of another with intent to commit a crime therein. And you did commit a crime by taking property that didn't belong to you. And I don't care, it makes no difference to me or the law whether it was cookie dough. So you got away cheap. Now, I don't know what happened to you as a result of your first theft. Probably nothing. Did you go to court on that case when you were 12 years old?
No, I was given counseling and community service.
Probably a big mistake. Maybe if they had sent you to juvenile hall for a couple of days, we might not have been here today. In any event, the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,113 as requested. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was kind of exciting to move into a place that was brand new, everything new inside, and that kind of changed the outcome of that.
I won't do that again.
Justice is served.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hamilton versus Seiler, step forward, please.
24-year-old nursing assistant Sean Hamilton is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old nursing assistant April Seiler, for destroying his 52-inch television set. April says she caught Sean cheating.
This is Miss Seiler, who has a very bad temper. Mr. Hamilton, you and Miss Seiler were living together for several years. You have a child together.
Yes, sir.
According to your complaint, the defendant became irrationally jealous because she had heard some rumors of you fooling around at work. And one day she came to work, she confronted you, she saw you talking to this woman. When you got home from work, you
Yes,
found
ma'am.
that she had destroyed a 52-inch television set. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yep.
So let me hear. That's what he's suing for. When did you destroy his television set? On what date?
July 20th, I think.
And tell me what happened on July 20th.
I went up to work and I've seen
His
him.
work?
Our work.
You work at the same place?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And he was talking to a female, and I asked him what was going on, and he said that they were just friends. And so I said, well, that's not what I've heard. So I went home, and he stayed with...
And that's all that was the whole conversation?
Basically, and he stayed with the girl. And I went
And you said,
home.
that's not what I've heard, and you left?
I said, that's not what I've heard. You guys have been seeing each other. And she said, it's not like that. And he said, we're just friends. And I said, whatever, and I walked away.
Okay.
And then I went home, and I was talking to my mom on the phone. I
You
was
were telling
mad.
your mother what had happened?
Yes, and I was very mad, so I said, oh, and I hate him, and I kicked the TV. And there's like a big hole, and my whole foot like went inside the TV.
So you destroyed the television?
Mm-hmm. And then a couple minutes later, he came home and said he was going to sue me and took the money that was left to get by with for the week and left.
How much did he take?
Maybe $300, $400.
And then whose money was that?
Ours.
When you were living together, you pooled your money?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what happened?
Yes, sir.
You pooled your money. So this $300 or $400, how much was it that you took when you
It was approximately $300. But Your Honor, later on in the week, I did come back and I did give her some money.
How much money did he give you later
No,
on
he
in the week?
didn't. He gave me money before the incident for bills, but he never gave me any money.
Afterwards?
Yeah.
The moral of the story is never fool around with a man's 52-inch television set.
And can I say another thing?
Sure.
This was like 2 weeks before football season, so...
You're not endearing yourself to me, Mr. Hamilton. Go ahead.
He's done this before in the past, and the girl confronted me and said that he had been asking her out, emailing her, he's been calling her on the phone, and I have, it's going to be 2 kids with him.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
The two of you are not married.
No, ma'am.
You're going to have 2 children.
Yes.
Why aren't you married?
Money.
What do you mean money?
Well, I've offered to marry her, just go and get married now, and then, later, we could have our big wedding or whatever, but you'd have to ask her.
Why didn't you get married 2 years ago?
Can't trust him.
You can't trust him enough to marry him, but you trust him enough to have 2 children with him?
Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton, my next question to you is, if the defendant came up to you and you were talking to this woman and she had some concerns about the relationship that you were having with this woman, why didn't you leave with her and go home and say, listen, it's really nothing. She's really just a friend. Stop getting upset.
All right. First of all, we work at a hospital, okay? It's like 95% female, so I mean, for me sitting with this girl, and she wasn't in her right state of mind or something because she came up and she started swinging at me. I couldn't really get anything out, because I'm like covering up, and then she didn't just walk away, she ran away. I'm at work, I can't just leave work.
Did you start swinging as soon as you came up?
No.
No?
No.
Now, you bought this television set in 1998, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Whose money did you use?
It was mine. I had sold some rims. I had these wheels prior, before we even started dating or anything, and I got $1,200 for them, and then I saved up a little bit of cash and bought the TV.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, but he had been working off and on for the last 2-3 years.
I work on and off. I was doing lawn care at the time, and we get, you can only do lawn care in Michigan because it snows 6 months out of there.
So who was supporting the household when you weren't doing lawn work at the time you bought
I would do
your
odd
television?
jobs in the wintertime, like plow snow. And
Were you working full-time?
Mm-hmm.
And she was working full-time?
Yeah. But I would bring it in a sufficient amount of money, enough to pay the bills and everything.
Where are you living now?
I live at my mom's right now.
You have a TV?
No, ma'am, I don't. I don't have nothing from the house.
I have no furniture?
Nothing.
He took the couch.
I had
and
one
sold
couch
it.
that was in the basement that our cats urinated on for 2 years.
Did you move in that house together?
Yes, but her name's on the house.
But you moved into the house together?
Mm-hmm.
Did you furnish it together?
Yeah.
And when he left, you kept all the furniture except for the couch that was in the basement?
He took his computer.
I'm talking about furniture.
Yes, because now I'm stuck with the house and I can't afford it, so I'm going to have to sell it. And I told him I would give him the stuff, but for now it's me and my daughter,
So you have the furniture?
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. She can have the furniture, and I mean, you know, I want my
He just
daughter.
wants a TV. You see
Yeah.
how important? Because
Well,
football
every time
season.
every time we got in a fight, she told me, you know, get your TV and get the F out. I mean, I feel the TV's mine.
So you need some money to go out and buy a new TV, right?
That'd be nice.
Well, she had a temper tantrum. So when you have a temper tantrum, you got to pay for temper tantrum.
And I have pictures of the TV too, Your Honor.
But believe me, sir, I have a husband. I know what a 52-inch TV is. Now, how much is it going to cost you to buy a TV? You paid $1,200 for this one?
I have receipts here.
Can I see it?
Yes, you can.
How much was the television set? So you got a whole lot of other things here.
I paid $15.49 for my TV.
Okay.
And that model's not made anymore, so they compared it to the model that's out now. That's closest to it.
Well, you may have to get a 48-inch television. And I'm not even going to depreciate it because, Miss Seiler, you ended this relationship, or this relationship was ended, and it seems to me that over the 2 years or more that you were living together, you accumulated certain property that you're keeping. All he wants is his TV. You destroyed it, and he paid.